Got lots of love, love. 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 Got lots of love, love.
I'm not crazy, Malin. I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 40 years. 40 years.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss. Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven.
No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from Peyton. It's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Laura, is he gonna be able to find these shots true?
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Annabelle, immediately comes back like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2, 3, so back and forth.
Welcome everyone to this spooktacular edition of Saturday Night Overwatch. I'm your host today, Darth Clown, filling in for Sam Talks. I've got my rest of my desk as well. Red Scout, Upside Down Spectreon, and
Australian.
a Penguin. Guys, welcome.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us, Mr. Clown.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm really excited for this week, right? Should be a fantastic game, or a fantastic night of Overwatch for us today. But we did have a recent patch, right? And I want to go over that quickly before we talk about tonight's matchup, right? So, Red Scout, Soav.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that first patch? That patch came out.
If I had to sum it down to one word, it's kind of at least my opinion of it is inconsequential. Because we did hit a couple of the key players for this patch. You know, we hit Orisa with quite a few different nerfs. And then we hit Juno, who's a big part of the sustain of all this. But it still doesn't feel like it's really enough to do anything. And then also we're still trying to make Sombra a thing.
Yeah.
And that's been fun to watch them try to like figure out what to do with her. So, you know, we got Ramatra's shield, shield break back. You know, that's always exciting. We can punch through shields again. But like overall, like, arguably, we may not have done enough to sway the patch too much.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Spec, what about you?
Yeah, I generally agree. I do think that the patch is literally just the kill Orisa patch. The horse is dead, been put down by the veterinarian, as it were. So we'd likely not be seeing too much Orisa, I reckon, in OWCS Stockholm. Outside of that, though, I have to agree. Every hero who has changed has not been meaningfully changed. Increasing Bull's hang time and ammo won't affect anything. You know, you can UFO a bit more, so Jumbin's happy. But like, come on now, guys, let's be realistic. Juno's ult hails 15 HPS less.
Yeah.
What does that actually change? Certain high DPS tracking heroes, so maybe Tracer, maybe Bastion can kill with your ult now if you're really, really good.
It makes May better.
It's unrealistic.
Does make May better.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because before you could survive Blizzard with it.
Yeah. It's just, it's small changes though. It's very small interactions as well. I think outside of nerfing Orisa, it doesn't matter, and Juno is still the most powerful thing in Overwatch. So until that hero is taken out back and Thanos snapped forevermore, I think we are going to continue to see Juno have a basically 100% pick rate in the highest tier of play.
And then we talked about Sombra still not kind of actually doing anything. Headrammer, what do you think the team needs to do to get Sombra back to a at least playable hero?
I think things are difficult with her because things have relied on her perma stealth for so long now in Overwatch 2. People are just so used to that playstyle. I mean, I think personally, look, I'm gonna just admit right going into this, I freaking hate Sombra as a character in the first place.
Yeah.
So I'm scared of giving too many recommendations like the character good because realistically in the end, if you're not gonna have them perma stealth, they need to be able to get enough value of just from either playing more with the team or being able to stay engaged in fights a little bit longer without too much of a fear. Because right now, a lot of her previous stuff is the fact that she could set up for basically free, and stay there until it was the time was perfect. She kind of got to choose a little bit more of the timing in which she wanted to engage, and it kind of comes into that like attack defensor's theory of like the the attackers kind of get to choose when it happens, and defenders get to choose where things happen. Yeah. And her having a permanent visibility kind of got to choose a little bit more of both at the same time, because she was invisible and got to kind of make that engagement happen with part of the attackers. And she kind of lost a bit of that with the fact that invisibility is not there, because it just throws off the timing of everything. So either she needs to get enough value off her kit while not being invisible, or needs to be able to like have just some kind of more engage in and out ability.
If I may, as a Sombra defender, normally, I like Sombra being in the game. I've said this before. My favorite meta is Sombra Tracer Witch.
Yeah.
I feel like you did kind of get around what I wanted to talk about, Headrammer, with Sombra's identity as a hero. She needs to be separate from Tracer, right? As not just the diver. But if you remove her permanent invisibility, you make it harder for her to get the engage in. You need to make those engages significantly stronger. You need to make her either be able to stay in for longer, or you need her to be able to kill faster. People really don't like being one-shot out of invisibility. But if she stays in longer, then she has even more escapability. I thought that's what people also didn't like. I'm getting to the point now where I kind of just want to revert Sombra back to maybe a launch of Overwatch 2. I feel like that was the least frustrating she's been. You had lots of outplay potential, whilst also being, having good playmaking. But I think every single change we've had, she's just become more annoying to play against and more annoying to play.
I agree with you. I think it's just, like Headrammer said, it's just kind of hard to balance that character, because it's just
she's annoying to play against.
Yeah,
she's tough to play against,
Like, her entire playstyle is making you not be able to play the game, and that's not fun for a lot of people. And especially a character that has invisibility where, like, you can't really see them. I mean, that's frustrating to play against as anyone who's trying to play the game. So it's that weird thing by trying to make her good enough that she's, like, viable in some situations, but also not so powerful that because when Sombra's strong, she's oppressive. And such annoying to play against. You feel like you're like looking all around, like, where is she? You're like, okay, I think I'm clear. Let me walk forward, dead.
Nah, I 100% agree with you. But that's our thoughts on the patch. Let's move over to tonight's SNO schedule, right? We already had our EU matchup earlier on today. It was the matchup between 07 and Shenzhen Strikers, and that was a 3-0. For 07, and I believe all three of you were on the desk. Am I right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I want to hear what your thoughts were on that match, starting with Headrammer.
It was a match. It was. I'll be honest. It was not very close. Unfortunately. There was some player like 07 is by far the best team in their tier. They're 7-0 in the season, which includes their like mid-season tournament wins. They got the extra match point win. They've dropped 2 maps in the entire season so far, and that did not slow down in this series. They took control of the series, was mirroring the other team on the comps the other team wanted to play, and also at the same time, Shenzhen Strikers was also nerfed by the fact that they had a player who had to play on a laptop at like 30 FPS and apparently like 1200 ping. Yeah. Like that. So it was unfortunately not a very close series. There were some aspects that were a little bit interesting, but it was a pretty quick series.
Spectron, what are you 07 standout player?
We gave player of the match to the tank player. I'm so sorry his name.
It was Shadowy.
Yeah, Shadowy. Shadowy did play fantastic. Like I did say though, I was also incredibly impressed with their Tracer player of Salmon. That first map performance was it was Heesang level. I'll put it that way. Just absolutely dumpstering the opposition.
And so, do you have anything to add to that sentiment?
I mean, they nailed the majority of it. I'm not gonna say that you missed it. You didn't miss anything, because it was a very good showing for 07, and I think for them in particular, like, you just have to know that they're going to continue to roll, kind of like just to echo what Headrammer said. Realistically, they are the number one. They've only dropped 2 maps in a close 3-2. Like, you just kind of know who's going to rule the division. So it's nice to get to see them and kind of be at least be able to check in a little bit later down the road when they're playing in the finals.
All right, so now we're on to our NA portion of SNO, and we've got Mental Institution versus Short Bus. This should be a fantastic series. Short Bus being, a institution for Overwatch for CGL Overwatch. Right?
A mental institution?
No,
that's a different thing.
Well, maybe some of their players could be. And then also on side of Mental Institution as well. I mean, there's a couple of people that have been around in CGL for a while, right, Heather?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had like Water at this point has been around for a while, which admittedly always throws me off because I'm starting to notice over time there's a lot of people that name Water. So anytime when I'm referring to players like this, I have to think like, is it the one I'm thinking of? But this is definitely one of the Waters I'm referring to. You know, flex support player has always been incredibly mechanically talented. Captain Crunch, honestly though, making a name for themselves as well on the tank. Their Wrecking Ball in a lot of these series has been really impressive, and sometimes the combination of Captain Crunch on the Wrecking Ball setting up their DPS of Galaxy and Smurfing, it's been textbook.
You could say it's a highlight, right? Highlight. It's not a low light like
Yeah,
our fantastic series on our YouTube channel with Leg Day as our MC, as you will, if we want to take a look at this week's ad for CGL Lowlights.
Aw. How does the old cowboy deal with this one? Well, less well. Oh, there's for sleep. Here comes the beam, though. The beam will be helpful. Did you just drop off this freaking... Were you forced to use this self-destruct? Or did you just think, you know what? He's sleeping. He's an EP guy. I'll just drop this here. Does he get clear? Tries their best. Where are you going? What were you just trying to deflect off of this central pillar to avoid the Deadeye? Alright, boys. Oh, we just curve around because of all of the angled surfaces. I've made a boo-boo here.
I mean, nothing's better than getting clowned at by Leg Day, right? One of the smartest people in Overwatch, I would think. Well, for me personally, right? Wish he'd got more work in the Overwatch scene now, but he's doing his thing in Twitch and as well as the CGL Lowlight series.
Yeah, I mean, we love to see our fellow casters and desk members thrive. So it's always good to see, and especially someone of his caliber bringing such an incredible, series like that to CGL. We're just we're genuinely like blessed to have that, because that is something you don't get.
I think when Leg Day VOD reviewed me, it was the nicest I've ever been told I was terrible in my life. It was very pleasant. I mean, I'm used to player VOD reviews, which normally end with like a lot of screaming and stuff I can't repeat on broadcast. Leg Day, well, I came away feeling like healed as a person,
And now, Spectreon, it's great that we were talking. We're talking about hot takes, perhaps, for your casting. We've got your little game show for this evening. We've got hot takes hosted by Spectreon.
Yes, very, very simple concept. Essentially, I have got these poor, unrelenting schmucks to submit hot takes to me, swaps them around a little bit, giving everyone a hot take they did not come up with. And some of these are truly terrible. So, they've got to defend them. They're going to speak for 1 minute. And once they're done, we're going to go on to the next one. At the very end, we're all going to come together and vote for a winner. That winner is going to be whoever has defended their hot take best. Not whichever one is the truest take, right? Because this take they haven't come up with, that's not on them, that's not their fault. Whoever's defended it best compared to their hot take, they're going to be the victor. So who should we start with? Let's start with Soav, who got given as their hot take. Whenever Tracer is meta, the game itself becomes worse.
All right, do I get a count in or do I just go? I just want to make sure.
I'll count you down. 3, 2, 1, let's start.
So as a metal rank player, anytime I come up against Tracer, my game is inevitably ruined. My backline is destroyed. If I'm playing some DPS, I'm constantly getting just outplayed from everywhere. Literally, the average player's experience against a Tracer is just miserable. You're never going to beat him, especially when Tracer is arguably one of the most smurfed DPS characters. It is so easy, and people who like that kind of stuff will just go into low rank lobbies and just destroy people and laugh at it, and it's not fun. Even at the higher levels, when Tracer is meta, we're always just looking for flashy pulse bombs. It really pulls away from the team play elements that made Overwatch so strong. So when Tracer is really kind of the buff and the carry of this, it's just not as fun of a game of Overwatch. It's just so bad for everybody involved.
Okay, honestly, that was a strong effort. I'm hearing some of your points. I hated this before I heard it, but now I've got my teeth into it a little bit. Okay, strong effort. We'll do Joker next then. You were given defend capture the flag as a competitive format. Your time starts now.
All right, so first of all, nothing can be worse than Clash as a competitive game mode, right? So I think already.
That's it. That's the argument.
I think already I made my point pretty clear, right? I think capture the flag would be so much better than Clash. And you know what? We could also use the Clash maps as a capture the flag map instead because of how long the map is, and it makes it much easier to transition it over to a capture the flag form. So I think what Blizzard should do is just get rid of Clash and make capture the flag a competitive format instead.
Okay, I hear you. Good time as well. One more, and I saved the worst one for last. For the Penguin, you were given the truly inexplicable. Bronze players are actually better than top 500 players. Your time starts now.
Now you might be asking yourself, how could a bronze player be better than top 500? Because their rank is clearly different. You know, bronze is the lowest rank that is available to you, and top 500 is the highest you can be in the game. Okay, how can they possibly be the same? But I think you're looking through the wrong eyes. I think comparing the bronze players of today versus the top 500 players from earlier in the game, you notice that those players are much better than what the players were back in the day. If you go back and even look at the competitive format, especially if you've ever seen, like, you know, Custas look back or Reinforced look back when they're looking back at their games played back in the day, they look like the bronze players of today at minimum. Like, like, they have no idea what they're doing. They have no concept of grouping up. They have no concept of even, like, pressing their ult button, and their aim is somehow not even remotely professional tier. The players of today have improved so much compared to where they were at the beginning, and I'm willing to make the case that the bronze players could be the top 500 players from back then.
You know what? Okay.
Strongly put. Okay, let's go then. Who do you think did best there, Joker? So you're just gonna choose between Serve and Headrammer, because obviously you can't really vote for yourself.
No, I can't vote for myself. I was gonna
Obviously.
I will go with Soav.
Dang, I see how it is.
Okay, Soav in between Joker and Headrammer then.
I'm gonna go with Rammer for the very unique take on what is. That was the most diabolical one I could have come up with. So kudos for swinging that angle. I give it to you.
Okay, then, Mr. Penguin, what have you got for us? Joker or Soav?
You could do the funniest thing I've.
I was gonna say
the best thing here.
I was gonna say, realistically though, I was actually gonna say Joker.
Well, Spec, what do you got? It's on you.
Tiebreaker, I'm gonna give it to Soav. I was actually swayed. The other,
You're actually swayed by
really
that.
strong. Yeah, I don't believe you, but like, I hate it less now. You know.
That's because you're a self-proclaimed tracer one trick. Of course.
Yeah, I know.
You hate that. Yeah, so
I
of
hate
course
it
you
less,
hate that.
which is why you win.
That's
but no,
fair.
honestly, everyone made that point really well. I thought all of these points were borderline indefensible, but honestly, I was impressed by what you guys were able to spin out of your behind. So kudos to everybody. Unfortunately, the Red Scout will be winning today.
I was very surprised personally that I got Soav's vote, because the moment I heard Joker make the Clash point, I'm like, I freaking lost Soav. I've lost.
No, because Rammer, you have to remember, I'm a Clash apologist. I think Clash is great, so I'm not gonna take Clash is just a bad map as a default response. Like you actually gave me a unique take.
I thought earlier you were talking about you hated Clash. Did I mishear you?
No, I said everybody hates
Soav
Clash.
has always been a Clash
apologist. I see.
I'm always a Clash defender. I'm always a Clash and 2CP defender. So.
Okay, I misunderstood.
It's okay. I'm on your side, boss. I got you.
I appreciate that. The $20 in the mail.
Thank you. We'll leave this part out.
Yeah. We can cut this. Cut
that part out.
All right. We normally have interviews, but interviews did not happen today, so we will move swiftly on to talking about the lineups for this afternoon. Well, not this afternoon. This evening. We'll take a look at mental institution.
You'll get there in the end.
There's the word. That's the word I'm looking for. Soav, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, Smurfing has been one of those players immediately that when I look at this lineup, Smurfing has been a dominant force in a lot of these games of just CGL past. And then, is this the right team? Is Water and Mental? This isn't the right. Is Water and Mental Institution? I'm so used to seeing Water on
Yes, Water and Mental.
Yeah, say okay, yeah, no, because like you said, there's a lot of Waters, yeah, and then Water themselves was an incredible flex support player in playing that Baptiste, and Baptiste is still in a decent spot. Now add in like a ball one trick, and we kind of talked about it. The ball buffs did come through. Maybe a player like Cap'n Crunch can take full advantage of those. So, I mean, there's a lot of just good talent on this team. You can see why they went, blow for blow with Short Bus in the past.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I mean, I'm interested to see if we do actually see Wrecking Ball played today. Especially with the recent changes to said hero. So we haven't actually gotten an actual lineup from Short Bus, but it's an educated guess on what we're going to give you, show you on screen. We also have the full roster if you want to talk about that as well. But Spectron, give us your thoughts on what we're seeing here.
I think that firstly, I love the heroes they're hovering. If we had that meta, I'd be a lot happier than I am now. But in all seriousness, though, when I've watched their games, the things that I kind of stick out to me most is Necrase doesn't really love playing that Orisa that much. Last patch, that's an issue. Now, with Orisa now turned into Glue, we're a lot happier about that, right? We're moving towards these kind of Remarches. We're moving towards these Winsons. We're moving towards these Junker Queens especially. And in a meta like this, where especially Queen is seeing a really large resurgence, right? That's a great hero pool to have. I think Energy as well always impresses me on the hit scanner. Kaza, that flex DPS has always been a huge standout member. But like I said, normally the tank selection is what make or breaks a team, and having those JQ in your back pocket now is, I mean, worth its weight in gold.
I'm really interested to see how they adapt to this new patch with Orisa not being played. Like you said, Necrai's doesn't really like the Orisa, I would have to think. They also have Smurf on the bench who is more towards those main tank roles. But I'm interested. I'm definitely interested to see this game come through. I'm interested also, Headrammer. Overall thoughts on both of these rosters?
I mean, both these rosters are incredibly talented. They're essentially the number one and number two teams in their group. Both, I mean, Short Bus is 7-0, Mental Institution is 6-0, with I'm only meeting up so far in the midseason tournament where Short Bus won 3-1. But and again, Short Bus is only 7-0 because they won the midseason tournament. So they essentially get the extra match win. So effectively, both teams are 6-0 with incredibly similar records. The last time we played the series again, it was a 3-1, but it was a fairly close series, and Mental Institution was winning some of those fights you wouldn't necessarily always expect them to. The problem is, oftentimes, Short Bus is a tried and tested team with players that have been playing for years, and a lot of them have been playing together for years. And even if you can get the advantage of them early on in the series by catching them off guard a little bit, you can never count the veteran talent like that out. They will eventually figure you out.
Yeah.
And then come back, and suddenly you are then on the back foot and receiving, and be like, "What is going on? Why am I losing now?"
All right, we talked about their previous matchup being a 3-1, but let's talk about the predictions for tonight's game here. Let's start with me. I've got the 3-0 going to Short Bus. I just think Short Bus is Short Bus, and I like Short Bus, so I'm gonna go with 3-0. So Ev?
I mean, counterpoint, this is the wall, the immovable object, unstoppable force fight right here. I do think Short Bus just has a little bit more time playing together, synergy, to kind of give themselves the edge, but I do think it's gonna be close, and I'm gonna go with I'm saying 3-1. I think there's definitely a world where Mental Institution takes at least one, but I think this is probably going to be, there's no crazy pick here. There's just, this could go either way.
Definitely. And now I believe Spectron, we have the same scoreline.
Yes.
So what were your thoughts behind it?
I mean, I took a skim through that as that last game. Obviously 3-1, first map in favor of Men's Institution, but that was when Short Bus were fumbling with the Orisa. As soon as they got off the horse and onto the Queen, 3-0 in their favor. No reason to go towards Orisa now, so unless it's a control curse, I'm very confident saying this game is going to be 3-0.
And then Head Rammer, I think you're the one with a little kind of a spicy take, but not as spicy
Yeah.
as Masters. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I decided to go for 3-2 for Short Bus. I still absolutely believe Short Bus is going to win. I think Mental Institution has the ability to bring it to them and push them to their limits and force them to adapt and change. But at the same time, like, I understand 3-2 is probably a bit more on the unlikely side, and that Short Bus has by default the advantage going into this series. But I would love to see a long series between these teams. I really enjoyed watching them play last time, and I want to see more.
Now for the hot takes of the evening. Let's bring up the caster predictions, because I'm gonna have a couple of words for them when we get into the sixth. We've got Hunter Tane going the 3-2 for Mental Institution, and Dexatron with the 3-1 for Mental Institution.
I don't know, Joker. Those don't feel like super off when you talk about, like I said, when you talk about what happened in the mid-season. It was a 3-2 in the past. All it takes is one fight to go wrong, and I actually don't think Hunter and even Dex are too far off the rails here. Dex might be the closest to the So of Danum insane pick of the day award, but I don't even think that's still crazy.
Spectron, what do you think Mental Institution has to do to get the victory tonight?
It depends exactly, of course, on what we see rolled out from Short Bus. If Short Bus do end up playing Queen, they could try and go towards like a Ryan Lucio. The Lucio is pivotal because you've got that sound barrier and you can just run over the Queen. Or you could try and mirror it out and try and just beat them at their own game. I would argue that the latter option's a bit trickier but more consistent if you can pull it off. The Ryan is a curveball, yes, but if we do see it work, it will be absolutely fantastic.
Good work indeed. Headrammer, final thoughts on this before we bring our casters in?
I think they're definitely ambitious picks for sure. But also at the same time, we talked about how we don't know what the lineups are right now for Short Bus. And depending on the lineup, it could potentially bring up or down their chances. I mean, if they're playing their star roster, I don't really see this ever being a chance. But if they are missing some people, especially some of their key players, I mean, that opens up a lot of opportunity for upsets. And
Soev?
I mean, I kind of agree with Rammer. I think Rammer said it perfectly there. I think this is, no matter what happens, we are the true winners because we get to see some incredible of the peak Overwatch here.
All right, let's bring in the two casters here to see if they can defend their take of the 3.
I say those are arguably hot takes.
Let's see. Well, I'm interested to see what their thoughts are on the take on their takes here.
Whenever they decide to come up, we'll see. Oh, there
they are. Hello.
Hey.
Hello, caster people.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Guys, what are your thoughts behind these predictions? First, Hunter.
Look, everyone knows me as the map 5 guy here in CGL.
That's true.
I will almost never not pick map 5, but I believe this is one of those situations where I think Mental Institution can make it happen. I have a lot of faith in them. They're walking into a complete Goliath of a team. Let's get that straight. This is no knock on Short Bus. But if there was ever a time they were going to come away with a win and make that big upset happen at this point, it has got to be tonight. That is the feeling deep inside of my heart.
All right, Dextertron, the 3-1. What are we thinking here?
Hey, kind of like what Hunter said, this could be an upset, but I don't think you consider it an upset here. They're both two incredible teams. They're both undefeated in the regular season, not only in records but in maps as well. They face in the midseason playoffs here. If you are Mental Institution, you're looking to get some revenge here in this game, but also if you're Short Bus, you're not looking to give away too much because you probably expect to see these teams again sometime in the playoffs.
All right. We're gonna leave you to it. So we're gonna have fun casting this banger of a series. We'll be back at the end of it all. So have fun, you two.
I appreciate it. I mean, Dex, at this point, to kind of double down on your situation here about, bye-bye, everybody, of the fact that both these teams being as high as they are, I mean, playoffs isn't even a question for the teams anymore. They are in. That is not a question. This match is mainly for the fact of who's going to try to take that first place seeding, and I guess, in a sense, also to kind of have, like, the kind of braggers' rights of getting that win and going with a little bit more momentum, but both these teams have that top 4 locked in with no issue at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Hell, both these teams could look at this game as just a fun time to go out there against another incredibly good team and try out some stuff that they've been looking at doing in scrims and just saying, hey, why don't we try it here? See how it works against another incredible team. But if both teams do that, it's going to be a very, very interesting series here.
Yeah, it very likely is as well. And the thing again with the situation is that we are in the regular season, so Dex, all these maps are very much in place already. This is not a loser's pick situation. We know all the 5 maps we're going to be able to go to if we end up needing to go all 5. But if there was ever a game where we'd go all 5 maps, this would seem to be it. And Dex, we're just starting out on Nepal to get things shaken here. In Nepal, I would say a map where a lot of compositions are good, but this is one of those situations where Brawl is kind of the king.
Brawl is king. You could also say Poke is king at some points here as well. Sanctum, you normally do see a lot of Sigma come out there, especially if you're able to control a lot of those high grounds. But you look at the map pool here, Hunter, I'm with you. This could go 5. Hell, this could be the one series that goes 6. In my opinion. And I know the desk would love that. Headrammer wants a long series from these two teams, and these are probably the 2 best teams here to give us that long series tonight. But you see Nepal, Midtown, Throne of Anubis, our first 3 maps. So a lot of variety can be played here in these first couple maps. So this first map in particular of Nepal, like you said, Brawl is kind of king. You can play Dive if you want, and you can play something else, something like Rushy, something Pokey, kind of like I said as well. Nepal is a lot like Lijiang to me. You can play a lot of different compositions just to get your feet under you and figure out what the other team is struggling on.
Yeah, 100%. The thing to know about a lot of these maps as well, in fact, I would make the argument for all of them. These are all maps where Ramatra can be very much used. Some of them very heavily as well. So this might really play into the fact that a lot of teams are trying to opt for that Ramatra instead of the Orisa, because you know, teams are experimenting. People still haven't gotten over the Orisa entirely yet. They're trying to still make it work in some degree, but teams have already opted for that Ramatra. Some have tried to opt more into the Junker Queen a little bit more. I think it's where to see what these 2 teams are really comfortable with, at least willing to flex around and play different things, because you could just solidify down on that Ramatra, but I do think there's a lot of viability to try a lot of different things.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about Ramatra got a little bit of a buff here this past Tuesday, being able to now punch back through shield, so you could run it against Poke, something like a Sigma, like I said, we could potentially see coming out here and still be able to find a lot of damage on it. I mean, you almost threw Matra back to how they were playing before. Orisa, I mean, I still see why teams are kind of sticking with the horse here. It's more just sustain, in my opinion. You have the Jab Spin, you have Fortify, which just is able to do so much. Jab Spin eats a lot of damage. Fortify almost does the exact same thing of when Ramatra puts up his arms. You're just not able to do as much damage as you're really looking for, but you do have the stun capability with Javelin. So that's probably why you see Orisa sticking in the fold here, at least so far in this minor time we've had the patch. But as we probably get in the next week, you're probably going to see a little bit of change with that. But I mean, like you said, Junker Queen, love seeing the Queen. Probably one of my favorite tanks to play at the moment. It always brings such a unique kind of play style because the Queen can kind of go off on her own and just do stuff on her own. Shout gives her a decent enough shield. If she's always meleeing, she's always constantly getting a little bit of healing back, so she can kind of be independent while the supports are really just maintaining the DPS line.
Yeah, 100%. And again, we're still in a situation where Bridge, seems to still be the popular lineup when it comes to supports. And in that situation, if you get hit with a Rampage, it's not like you have the Lucio who has the B, you can counter that and kind of sustain. If the Brick Juno end up getting hit with that, there's no cleanse, there's no immortality field, there's not even a cleanse in that situation. You get caught out, it could be devastating. So it's gonna be down to these teams kind of try to figure out counterplay a little bit as well. It's kind of rare that we'll see the Junker Queen versus Junker Queen. It's kind of a toss-up again. It's gonna be something we're gonna have to see from both these teams here today, because again, Nepal likely to see that Brawl or that Poke in this situation, but either way, it's something we're going to have to see as we're going to get in here very shortly. But I mean, Dex, you've kind of already talked about a little bit between that Ramatra and that Orisa, the Junker Queen. Who do you think is the best tank right now, in your humble opinion?
Ooh, that's a very interesting one, because I still think you see Orisa played a lot, but I don't necessarily consider them to be the best tank. Honestly, you might have to look over at one of the dive tanks again. Diva's still very strong, Winston's still incredibly good, but Ramatra is also right there. I mean, if you have the tier list going, you basically kind of have to put Orisa, Ramatra, and probably Diva up there in the top 3, and then just slightly below them, you have almost every other tank, minus probably Ball and Hog, but Ball you can still find value on it, especially if you know what you're doing on the Hamster here. But I mean, we've been talking a lot about the tanks here. You kind of mentioned it. The support line is kind of set in stone. We normally expect to see the Juno Brig, if not a Juno Ana. I do like seeing that kind of composition, but the DPS line right now, one thing that I will give a lot of credit to with this patch is just how the variety of DPS players we see. I've seen Tracers, I've seen Genjis, Ashe, Widowmaker, Cassidy, Venture, Mei. I mean, you don't normally get this much variety at that DPS line on any particular map.
No, we've had a lot of metas in the past in Overwatch, especially Overwatch 2, it feels like, where there were 2 or 3 DPS that felt like the must pick. Back when we had the Tracer Somber, where you just had to lock in on that or basically lose the game. But now we're in a situation where a lot of DPS are extremely viable, and it creates a lot more skill expression for these teams. It's not where, hey, you are the dedicated Tracer player, or hey, you're a dedicated Ashe player, or anything like that. You're to see these DPS run a lot of different things, like example as well, that Sojourn as well, that has gotten like slowly stronger and stronger, and she's starting to become a very popular pick amongst a lot of these players now. So that's where we're going to see like the most skill expression from a lot of these players here today. And honestly, that's the most exciting part for me at the end of the day, because you talked about it earlier with tanks. It is mainly all about the sustain here. The play power is really going to come down to these DPS.
Yeah, and I mean, you bring up Soj, a character I didn't even mention. Hanzo also getting a little bit more play as well. Torb, even in some specific situations, which, again, kind of weird to say, but Torb is somehow back. I mean, I mean, hey, he's always a kind of a niche pick, but I'm starting to see him played a little bit more, and I'm starting to get a little bit uncomfortable with that sort of pick. But, like, Echo is still strong. You're seeing a lot of Pharah. Hell, we're even seeing Pharmacy come back, which... weird a little bit, because it just, I thought it was dead and gone, but yet we're still seeing it come back here. But I mean, you heard the desk talk about these 2 teams, Hunter. These are 2 of probably the best teams, not only in this tier, but in the past couple seasons of CGL, and maybe even you could consider them some of the best to ever play the console version of Overwatch.
I mean, I think you really have to bring them into the conversation. You might think of teams like MME comes to mind immediately when I think of CGL, but Short Bus is probably right there in that conversation. Especially you look at that DPS lineup of Akaza and NRG, because they have been playing together for a while. They are such a dynamic duo. I have watched these 2 pop off who knows how many times at this point. It was so tough to not just instantly try to pick Short Bus in this situation, because if you're looking at two teams in general that are very popular, and hell, 2 DPS that are very popular, they're 2 of the first that come to mind, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this Short Bus team, like I said, I believe during one of their mid-season playoff runs, this team itself could just be put into a CGL Hall of Fame if there was one. They have been around that long. Everyone that has been on the team has been so consistently performing at a high level that they would all make a lot of sense. But now, hey, we finally do get to see the Short Bus roster here as we load in. So Energy, Akaza, and Necries, that's the main core, in my opinion, of this team. As long as those 3 are there, I think they have a shot no matter what. You have Keo and Dinks on the support line. Again, 2 great supports in their own right. So they are bringing out an incredibly strong team to get started here.
Yeah, 100%. As we're going to get things started over here at Shrine. To get things working away, this is the map where you can kind of move around a little bit. Brawl seems to kind of be the favorite in a lot of situations. And at least for Mental Institution, that seems to be the case. Galaxy likely going to TP them out and head over to, realistically, the Sojourn or the Ashe. Both are kind of popular in that regard. Short Bus looking to be flexing the same thing here as they're playing around a little bit with Keo on the ball.
Yeah, but Necries hovering over the Doomfist, which, again, not a tech we talked about a lot here, but if you can get a Doomfist rolling, it is very, very difficult to stop, and that is what Short Bus wants to do here early on. However, I think on the other side, Mental Institution does have a good setup here to really slow down Necries here, but Necries, like we mentioned, is one of those tanks that once they get going, they're incredibly difficult to stop.
Yeah, and normally the situation for Mental Institution, you're trying to play this in 2 different cores in this situation. One core basically with Cassie, another core kind of playing around with that Tracer. But in this situation, you're going to recognize very quickly they have a break Ana, and that is a backline that is not easy to dive, but it is a lot easier to simply rush them down and go in. So for Mental Institution, you want this to be a bit of a faster fight in the situation, as it seems to be. Smurfing has managed to get rid of the tank in the situation, already 2K to the name. They'll take away the first fight with relative ease in that situation.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at how Mental Institution is set up. Complex can kind of live on their own. They're going to probably always try to be hovering around Cap and Crunch and Water. But Water, if they get into a sticky situation where that dive comes out from Short Bus, they can double jump and just propel themselves out of a fight incredibly quickly here. Now, look, Short Bus, they're making some swaps here. You see the Kiriko coming back out here for Kyo. Dinks sticking on the Ana here. I think that's a very good pick because anti-nades right now, especially when Mental Institution is running that support line that they're running, makes it very, very difficult for Mental Institution to want to push up far.
Yeah, right now Smurfing gets hit with that nade. Gonna survive for a little while, though, trying to see it. What a flick by Smurfing! This is just take it out of the lineup, and now, with that, bit of a rough situation, Smurfing nearly shooting back into that and taking themselves out. Smurfing gonna survive with 11 health here. Great job. Once again, another quick fight taken care of. Net Deadeye is gonna be on the way as Necros is gonna head over to the Junker Queen now.
Yeah, and look here, and now you see NRG make the swap as well. 50% and counting here. Short Bus, 3 of their members have made swaps. They have put themselves in such a big hole when it comes to the alt economy here. If they are in a very, very bad spot. Mental Institution, I mean, you're not necessarily really holding on to anything here. You do have a Deadeye, but you're in such a better position. You just have to win this fight pretty early on, and then final fight will be very easy for you.
Yep, Deadeye is online right now trying to find somebody in the situation. Really good zoning right here. It's actually a wonderful job by this team to get out of here. Now Smurfing needs to pull back in the situation. You're able to work with this Pulse Bomb online as Akaza gonna have the same thing here. You're really trying to find Dinks in this situation or NRG because Kyo is just gonna be able to TP out or just use their cleanse. So you need to find the right target here as it's 90%. Solution has a ton of ultimates about to come online, and here it comes to get things going right now. The Nano is gonna go on to the Queen, already running down Smurfing the situation as Water and the rest of the two are trying to find a little bit of value with this orbital ray. Unfortunately, it hasn't come through to fruition that you would really hope. And so now you're trying to see if you can bring them down. And you're going to be able to invest in the situation, triple down, as a matter of fact, trying to end this round right here and now in Dex. They are certainly going to do it. We're going to see maybe a retouch, but we won't. 100-0 to get things started. And this was a little... I mean, first of all, I love the way Mental Institution is playing this. They're taking it slow where they need to, and then rushing in when their opportunity comes.
No, absolutely. Like Mental Institution, they played that perfectly. That Short Bus, everything kind of hinged on how good Necry's did on that Doomfist, and we saw it didn't really work out that much. I mean, the rest of their DPS line needed to kind of follow behind Necry's, which is what you normally want to see on a Doomfist comp, but they just weren't given that opportunity. A lot because Smurfing absolutely popped off in that first map, and then we talked about it. It just came down to this final fight here between the two teams. All that Mental Institution need to do was just pop their ultimates, and they're gonna win because Short Bus had none to really use. I mean, they put themselves behind the 8 ball there on that first map, but look at them now. Making the swaps, they're gonna be almost mirroring Mental Institution here. Actually, no, they're gonna be mirroring them here. Ooh. So this is gonna be very interesting because Mental Institution had every advantage last map. Now, it's even across the board. It's gonna come down to who is actually playing a little bit better here.
Yeah, it's also going to go down to see how long this fight can go on, and honestly, if it goes on for a long time, you want to start talking about ults, but you want to talk about Kev Crunch going off the edge. Kyo managing to push out enough to take them off the edge, and I mean, that ends the fight right there, so Short Bus should be able to get the point to start things going here. And by the way, that gave Kyo a nice chunk of ult charge for keeping them off.
Gave Kyo a nice chunk, but give a lot of credit to Mental Institution, just backing out of that one, not losing anyone else. Short Bus not necessarily pushing forward either, so smart play by them, knowing that the fight was already over. Go cap point. Now you're starting to build that up, but you're going to see Mental Institution. If I was them, I would not necessarily go for this same kind of fight. You do see Cap and Crunch here just buying a little bit of their attention, while their DPS line looks to be kind of going on that off angle here, but Short Bus, this is a very, very difficult kind of hold to get through if you're Mental Institution.
Yep, gonna go for it for a moment, but thinks better of it and decides to back out instead. Ends up being the right call. You could have been surrounded, and Zakaza is gonna get the better of the 1v1. In fact, both DPS getting the better of their counterparts, and again, fight's gonna have to come to an end here. Gonna see if he can get everybody out alive, and with that speed ring, looks like you might be able to. They're trying to see if they can get Complex or Capping Crunch in the situation. And eventually looks like they might be torn down. They're getting super low, but it looks like they will be able to sustain. And by the way, that is a ton of charge for Water in that situation. They're gonna have this orbital ray online.
Yeah, and honestly, they could re-engage into this fight here, or this choke here with that, and just try to win a quick fight here, because as that point's getting up here in percentage, Mental Institution slowly losing their opportunity. Woo!
Yep, still a 4v4 in this situation, though, still very much winnable, but Mental Institution have to make it work, as it is, that orbital ray is not going exactly where you might hope, but it's still a 4v4, the point is being capped. Orbital gonna come inside on the other side. Cabin Crunch literally got deleted in that situation, as they're not even gonna find the cap, so no value in that situation. Let's even get Complex out of their life. 70% in counting. What? Water?
Orbital Ray coming out there from Dinks? That's a little bit of a wasted ult. Now, I mean, if you're Mental Institution, you're basically gonna have all the ultimates you need here. Akaza's the only one that won't have their pulse bomb ready to go here, but if you're Galaxy, you're looking to find someone like Kyo, someone like Dinks, someone like NRG out here early. Almost getting the one clip onto Akaza, though. That would have been a huge pick.
Yeah, Complex going down is also a big pick, though, and now they're going to go all in the situation. They realize touching this point is not going to be all that possible right now. They're going to go down the situation, but it's kind of worth it because there is no touch anymore. You're not going to be able to make it, and now it's 100-0 on the other side. This is just two completely different sides here, but the most important thing about this round right here is this was the complete mirror. There's no excuse of, oh, they counterplayed us, or oh, they played this character instead. This was just a 1-for-1, and they got beat in every fight.
Yeah, and I mean, coming into this series, we talked about what might be the best tank at the moment, and so far, these teams are kind of showing us that it might be Ramatra again. So all hail that meta that's going to come back up here soon. But if you're Mental Institution, I mean, you have to make some swaps here. You cannot stay on it. It's just, you're behind a lot. You're starting to see the DPS, like we talked about, NRG and Akaza can just take over a map on their own here. And that's what we saw there. Yeah, Necryze was building a lot of space, but it was NRG, Akaza, and hell, even Dinks finding kills very early on because of those torpedoes. If you're Mental Institution, you need to figure out something here. If you're going to stick with the same comp, and it looks like both teams, again, going to be mirroring each other here. I mean, you need to get something going here early on. Short Bus, they found picks early last round, and you saw them take huge advantage because of it.
Yeah, the biggest thing right now is you can't be afraid right now if you're Mental Institution. All this room you've kind of already given up in a sense right now. If you're pushed back into this room, you're going to lose the fight. That is the long and the short of it in the situation. And with the fact that Captain Crunch is just getting forced back, it means they're going to end up losing this fight in the terms of the fact that they lose this ground. They're going to try to run through and see if they can find something and break this open. A trade comes out online. I'm not sure how you feel about that trade in that situation if you're Short Bus, especially if Necryze doesn't get the healing they need. But Dinks is live, which means they're going to get the point first, and they're going to be able to sustain for a minute.
Yeah, but because Short Bus was able to push back Mental Institution there at the start, they were able to get that point cap with Akaza. Again, you do not let this DPS line get hot. They become very, very scary when they are on it.
Yeah, and again, the fight becomes a little too chaotic for their liking. And that when things get chaotic, it's going to favor Short Bus with the way that they play Mental Institution. They have to play fast and decisive. That kind of passiveness is kind of what cost them a lot in this first fight. Oh my god.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like I said, once these DPS on the side of Short Bus get going, they are very, very difficult to slow down. If you're Mental Institution, you need to find one of them out early on, whether it be Smurfing or Galaxy. The Tracer backline pressure is something we're seeing a lot here, but one thing we're seeing a lot as well is Captain Crunch just is not afraid to go in.
Nope, not at all, and that's exactly what you want out of a Ramatra player. And now, you need to make something work, because you don't want to lose anybody. Akaza, again, gonna get the better of the 1v1 against Galaxy, but it's a 4v4. It's still very winnable, but you need to find a target to go on, and Akaza is just gonna help in the backline with Necryze, and they're gonna clear out in the situation. Not even gonna find a pick on the way out either. Just gonna have to give it up raw, and now, I mean, at this point, it might be the definition of insanity. They're trying the same thing a lot of times with zero success.
Yeah, you might have to go through the other choke or one of the other two chokes here, but if you're Mental Institution, you saw the Annihilation, you saw the Pulse Bomb come out there from Short Bus. You have those ultimates now ready to go. You have all your ultimates ready to go, actually. You can play fast here knowing that they don't have a rally on the other side.
Yeah, but again, they go in and they just get, no kidding here, annihilated. Not on the side that you would have originally thought, though, because now that's all the ultimates that you have down the drain, except for the DPS ones. And now you have to worry about getting a touch here, because you can't afford to go top. You have to go main and force a touch.
Yeah, and at this point, if you're Mental Institution, why not make a swap here, something else, a different kind of comp, maybe something like a dive, because you're playing very, very slow characters. Galaxy's gonna be your touch here, or Bob from Smurfing, but they have to get themselves into an angle where Bob can touch the point.
Yep, you see Akaza from behind right there is overtime is going to activate. Bob going to be thrown in the corner here. Complex though going to be down early. The stick, amazing job onto Kyo, managing to hit the melee to take care of them, but they still have work to do, and unfortunately, there might not be any more work to do. The point's going to flip over, but it might not mean a whole lot now. It's still a 2v4. Galaxy has to focus on trying to stay alive right here. Unfortunately, Captain Crunch not going to be too far behind. Complex is going to swap, but it's not going to mean a single thing in the world. No one's going to make it back, and Short Bus making it look easy in these last 2 points here to take away Nepal to start the series.
And I mean, if you saw the kill feed there, what I have been saying this entire point, if you let the Short Bus DPS line control the game, get hot, they're very difficult to shut down. Well, that DPS line got all 5 kills there in that final engagement. NRG and Akaza were just going nuts here. And NRG, I mean, a hell of a play of a game here by them comboing a lot of ultimates right here, but finding a lot of value. And look, the difference, or okay, we'll talk about that in a minute, I guess. A sneak peek on this Halloween cast, but I mean, again, Short Bus, this is kind of what we expect from them. And yeah, I know me and you both credited mental institution here, but we can talk about just how good the Short Bus team truly is. I mean, they are one of, if not the best teams here in this tier.
I mean, 100%. I think both teams came out here and proved it in their own situation. You can make the argument of, okay, Mental Institution got a total of 8% over the course of the last 2 rounds. Yeah. But again, we come into the very beginning of this. They take the 100-0 to kind of start things out here. And that's what really shows that this team can do something. This team can come away with the win. But the issue is how they are playing these fights now. That first round, they came out here, they played how they were supposed to be playing. They were passive when they were supposed to, and they went aggressive in on a pincer when the opportunity came. They didn't give themselves that chance in those last 2 rounds, especially not that 3rd round where they kept running through the same choke over and over and over again. And the same thing kept happening where Captain Crunch would walk through and you would see Necros just go through the back line with energy and Akaza and kill everybody.
Yeah, and you talked about there, the definition of insanity, trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It doesn't matter that you had ultimates, because guess what? The other team had ultimates as well, and their ultimates were better placed, better used, better utilized, and found the value that they were looking for. Your ultimates never found anything. It's like coming into that final map, I really wanted to see a Mental Institution potentially try something different for the first couple fights to see if they could break through the Ramatra on the other side. But no, they wanted to run the Ramatra because it's been working for them on that first map, fell apart on the second map, and continue to fall apart there on that third map. But you look at the stats now here for the 2 teams. And I mean, yeah, you see a huge difference there. And basically almost all those kills or all those deaths for Short Bus came on that first map. Outside that, maybe they died 1 or 2 times the rest of that series. But hey, you saw the sneak peek a little bit earlier. We can now compare the 2 tracers there of Galaxy and Akaza, and we saw a big difference in them throughout that entire map there, especially from point 1 on. Akaza just overtook Galaxy.
I mean, 100%. Again, Galaxy ended up having a very good start right now, but Akaza really woke up in that second round and beyond. While the damage numbers are very similar in their own way, they're going to be in that situation. It feels like it comes down to those final blows, those eliminations. Akaza was in that kill feed every single fight, every single fight in that situation. They're constantly in there helping out with energy and their tank, just trying to find picks, and it worked out more often than not. And that goes down to the fact that it only died 2 times every 10 minutes. That's a very low number. That should really be iterated. That is extremely low, even for a tracer player. That is low.
Incredibly low. And you look at the final blows, almost 6 times difference. Eliminations per 10, almost 3 times difference. I mean, there was a big difference there in that first map between the 2 tracers there. And I mean, it's going to be very important here, especially with Tracer still being in a decently strong position. And now that you don't have to worry about an Immortality field or a Suzu on the opposite side, Tracer's pulse bombs are going to be able to find 1 or 2 every time they have it, and it becomes something that changes how you play. And on the first point, I thought Mental Institution did a great job shutting down the Tracer, but on the second and third point, even though the pulse bombs didn't find the value, you still felt the pressure from them.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem in that situation right there, is because the benefit of being able to defend pretty much almost any kind of point is you're able to start the initiation of angles. You're able to sit in different places and let your opponent come in. And that gives you the advantage as a defender to kind of hold down those angles. And it forces them to either go a different way, to try to force themselves out to kind of get their own angles and catch them out. That's just the unfortunate part for Mental Institution there. They did it right the first time, and Tropa said, okay, we can do that too. And they just replicated the exact same thing twice over. So now it's in the pocket of Mental Institution to try to fight back, to try to respond here, because these are going to open up a lot more with our next map, Dexatron.
Yeah, I mean, next map of the night will be Midtown here, which, I mean, at a certain point, especially in a lot of other leagues, Midtown almost became a little bit of a Kings Row Junior with how a lot of teams are playing it here. But you're starting to see a lot more comps come out on it. In my opinion, Dive is something. Brawl is still very, very popular on it, but Dive becomes something, especially on second point, where the high ground pressure is something you really need to take fast if you're the attacking team. But again, it's going to be a very back and forth thing here, and we might honestly just see the Ramatras come out from both sides here. Doesn't look like we're going to be seeing any subs coming in. Both these 2 teams do have, I believe, a decent amount of players on their team, so we could see subs throughout the night here. But again, if you're Short Bus, why change the lineup? It was great that first map. If you're Mental Institution, you probably know what you did wrong. You just have to improve on it going into New York here.
Yeah, 100%. And I think in this situation, as it's very likely that Short Bus is going to be starting on the attack here, as actually, by the looks of it, Short Bus actually is going to opt to go on the attack first and foremost, not Not something every team decides to pick. More often than not, to go for the defense. But in terms of short bus, I was going to say I would be surprised if it stayed almost the exact same. It looks like it will, with the exception of Kyo potentially get the extra bit of sustain with the Illari, able to hold corners a little easier. But Institution opting for the Orisa, which, again, this is a bit of a risk to run. But Orisa, despite the nerfs, is still a fine tank. They just aren't the best.
No, they're not S tier anymore. They're still A. Maybe not A+, but they're still A, putting them above a lot of other tanks here. But Sigma at the moment for Necry is still a strong tank in themselves, and especially if you get rid of Fortify and Javelin Spin, the Accretion can just shut down a push here from an Orisa. But you talked about the Illari here. That was not a tank we talked about a lot, but look at things as well. Back on the BAP. Two supports we did not see that first map. So Short Buzz, they are trying to give Mental Institution a thing to really think about here when it comes to their composition, because Energy and Akaza did not change at all because they really had no reason to.
No, it was already working. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So this is the right decision to kind of stick on and make things working. But it makes sense for Galaxy to go over to a different character. The Genji, it's going to be a toss-up whether or not it's actually going to work here. But it is a DPS that can be a very fast initiator that can go in and catch somebody if they are in the wrong place at the wrong time. As we see already, Captain Crunch kind of pushing over this little pocket over here on the side of Smurfing has already gone down this early in the fight. And now you're going to see the angle start taking over. Captain Crunch had to focus on trying to stay alive. Unfortunately, they won't, so now they have to back out and discuss whether or not they want to retouch here. And even then, if they make the choice, it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, but look at this. Look how Short Bus is forcing Mental Institution to back out of it. They're not backing out towards their own spawn. They're backing out towards Short Bus's spawn. The team is very, very... I mean, yeah, no, they're backing out towards their own spawn. My bad. I got confused there for a moment. But Short Bus, they're going to easily be able to cap the point here on just a little bit over a minute there. An insanely fast comp there. If you're Mental Institution, you have to figure out something here now. I mean, you did a good job keeping almost everyone alive there, but if you fall very early on here, you really have to start considering making a swap here. Smurfing almost getting taken out here very early on. But again, if you're Mental Institution, you need something to go your way here, and you need it fast.
I mean, 100%. You're the override going to be used here by Water to get things started out here. At the very least, it's going to gain you a bunch of space, but the problem is Short Bus was not in deep or anything, and now you're going to trade out, and this trade does not benefit Mental Institution in the slice right now. Get a lot of people low, super low at the moment right now. To keep everybody alive, it'd be something short of a miracle, but unfortunately, it's not going to work. And unfortunately, they're just going to get blown away and giving up even more space on top of that.
Yeah, and if you're Mental Institution, you used a very, very strong ultimate in the Orbital Ray. Really didn't find a lot of value on it. And all Short Bus used was the Flux. And they found a lot off of it, forcing them basically to now continue to push this card almost toward the end of point B here. But look, Mental Institution, they're making a swap. Captain Crunch going over to the Sigma to mirror it. I think this is the right thing to do. Smurfing has his Deadeye, though. This has to be able to find one. It cannot just be used as a zoning tool, especially when you look at what Short Bus has coming up in the ultimates.
Yeah, and this is a similar situation, almost any kind of fight where you have to try to get that rock out of that Sigma. The one person who can really stop it in this situation, as the Bob in the background doing its job. Smurfing going to go down, and able to find a whole lot of value. Energy going to get knocked away. Immortality Field literally just barely in the nick of time in that situation. Energy will eventually be taken down, but the damage might already be done in the situation as we're back into a 4v4. Smurfing doesn't have to pull the trigger in the situation as Captain Crunch already has two that are the name. Gonna make it a third, and finally, for the first time on this map, Short Bus is gonna be pushed back, and Mental Institution can take a breather.
And yeah, they can take a breather here, but it cannot be a long one. Look what Short Bus has coming in this next engagement. Captive Sun, Amp Matrix, Pulse Bomb, Akaza. Like we said, even if they don't find kills with Pulse Bomb, it's that pressure that it applies to the other team. That has been the biggest thing with it. If it finds a kill, guess what? It's huge, but you have Immortality Field on the other side now that can cancel it out almost instantly. But that gets rid of Immortality Field at that point. Institution, though, coming up to 4 big ultimates as well. So they're in a good spot here, but they need this fight to go decently long before they pop anything.
Yep, and now they're going to get forced off the high ground. That rock could be devastating. Captain Crunch literally just has to give it up. Smurfing, unfortunately, gets caught out, and now Captain Sun going to be brought out into the air right now. It's going to hit the back line to see if it finds anything. As that Flux goes online, it's only going to manage to find one. Not going to be able to get rid of them, though, as they need to find a pick in the situation. Give a lot of people who are low. We're sitting at that halfway marker, but the longer this fight goes, the more disruptive it's going to get, as someone needs to go and touch this point with 2 meters left on the clock. The Deadeye going to be invested as well, and basically got wasted on Akaza.
It didn't even kill Akaza, do a lot of damage here, but that fight needed to go long for Mental Institution, and look, they've used 3 of the 4 ultimates that we talked about coming in this fight. They haven't found any picks.
Yep, and make sure, but remember, people have to start being ready to go for this point. They can push this in, and it has to eventually be the tank that has to go in and force the touch. 1.3 meters, bodies are going to come through. They are waiting for that rock to come out here. Smurfing has managed to find one, gets traded out. You have to hold on to your rock right now if you're Captain Crunch. You absolutely have to. It's going to go up. maybe the best place in the world to try to do that, but unfortunately, Dex doesn't get any picks, but it eventually is going to have some kind of effect right now. The rally's going to get expended to try to keep Captain Crunch up. This is a long fight at the end of the day, and this benefits Mental Institution. They're going to get people back way quicker in the situation. Akaza doesn't have the recall. They're just going to get forced out, and now you just have to take the reset. As Akaza maybe looking for the C9 if they get off.
Maybe, but I mean, you see Smurfing kind of just monitoring the subway stairs right there. So Akaza going to fall back here. Dinks does have the Amp Matrix. NRG about to have Bob. Keo making the swap over here to the Juno. I like this swap here, especially with how much time there is left on the clock. You should be able to build up an orbital array in time. Mental Institution, though, you are so close to 2 huge ultimates, and Galaxy so close to their Pulse Bomb as well. The Pulse Bomb from them needs to find a pick this time if it really wants to help them stop Short Bus at the second point here. But you see Necry's also making the swap back over to this Ramatra. I think this is the exact right swap for them.
Yep, 2.6 meters again, once again, that mirror going to be used. And right now, rough situation as they're going to lose their one person who can hold down the point. And now it's just going to fall apart from there. We're going to see the cap come through. 2.5 minutes. Not the most time in the world in this situation, but you managed to get a lot of picks. And the most important part about that, Dex, is that means no one spawns close. And this corner basically has to be given away for the moment.
It's going to be given away for free, but like going back to what I was saying, Necry's made the swap at the right time here. Yeah. Captain Crunch has been using that shield almost as basically it's a foot away from him. So guess what? Punches go through it again. Does a lot of damage to you. If you're Captain Crunch, you might also be looking at, after this flux, swapping over to your own Ramatra here. I don't think at this point the Sigma will be able to find a lot of value. Short Bus though, DPS ultimates online, Mental Institution, you're about to have 4 of your 5 ultimates online. So this should be a fight you win here, especially if you go fast. Do not be responding. Be the reason Short Bus has to respond to you.
Yeah, because this 12 bomb 6 right now, this would be devastating right now. It's going to fall down. Air ball, unfortunately. Akaza not going to find any value. Immortality Field does get expended kind of as a reaction, as Smurfing is going to get taken down, and thanks to the Bob right there. And Institution, I mean, they just don't use anything. They use the Pulse Bomb. They end up not even getting the Deadeye online. And now, 1.5 minutes on the clock, and this is a bad situation for them right now.
Bad situation, especially when you look at Necry's. They almost have their own annihilation. That's going to be something that's devastating to this Mental Institution team. And Mental Institutions, they need to win a fight here pretty quickly. They cannot allow Necry's to stay alive, and they do exactly that.
Yeah, the definition of getting deleted in that situation. And now, let's see if they can find a pick or two on the way out. Dinks is kind of low right now, but they're going to hide around. And a couple of Dinks on them to take them out. And now 1 minute on the clock. This annihilation, though, and pair that up with an orbital array, that could be devastating.
It's going to be devastating. If you're Captain Crunch, you have to use your flux here to just basically cancel out that annihilation. You have to throw them in the air for that entire time and make sure no one is getting damaged by it. Keo's going to use that orbital ray almost immediately. They know that Mental Institution does not have anything on the other side to really slow them down because Water used that Amp Matrix last fight. So once that's online and a fight's breaking out, expect Keo to immediately throw that ray down.
Yep, 100%, and here it comes right now. Flux is going to come online. It's going to catch on to Necry's, but only going to take them down to half their health. This rock is going to be very important here momentarily to try to knock them down and get rid of them right now. You'll see them back off a little bit. Just give up the ultimate in that situation. It's not worth dying for, especially when the spawns are this close. And now it is all on the back of Galaxy right here to try to find something here. Necry's and Keo getting low. Dinks is going to pop this hope online, though, as it comes online. Necry's is going to go down anyway, though, as Galaxy does end up falling. But again, the spawns are way closer. You have to worry about setting up a touch, and that is down to Akaza in this situation to set up the overtime and keep things moving. And I don't know if there's enough time for everybody to get back in the situation, Dex, because you just have to be going in and out and just pray you're not taken out.
Well, Akaza has a Pulse Bomb here. They're going to use the recall right now, but the Pulse Bomb not going to be able to come out from them. So now Mental Institution has a great opportunity here.
Yeah, but back on the point, Necry's is going to make their way back on right now. Has the block, but gets rocked away. Immediately, the Deadeye is going to solidify the hold here in this situation. Stops just before the final checkpoint. Mental Institution having some really good holds, especially look back at that second point. Unfortunately, obviously, that is still a relatively far distance on Midtown right now. And it kind of all comes back to that first point and how quick they had to give it up.
Yeah, and even kind of goes to the second point as well. They were able to slow down Short Bus, but Mental Institution, because of that large time bank, they didn't really worry about it. They made the right swaps at the right time to get that second point. But give it up to Mental Institution there to really just slow down Short Bus. They finally got a couple team fights to go their way, and you saw that team look a lot different. Smurfing started to go crazy. Captain Crunch was doing everything you needed them to do and more here. Complex and Water, they made right swaps as well to other supports, and they found everything they were looking for there. Short Bus, I mean, there were not a lot of swaps from this team very late on. Energy and Akaza kind of went silent, which is one thing that is very rare to say about them, but just the great team play here. I thought Necry swapping over to the Ramattra was going to guarantee a full cap here on this map, but Mental Institution did enough to stop the bleeding. However, like you said, Short Bus got a very, very long way, and it's going to be very difficult here for Mental Institution to get something going. They cannot start off this round slow.
Yeah, one thing I really want to note in the situation is smurfing. The numbers might not be super impressive, especially you look at the comparison of NRG, but if there was one person who was shutting down Akaza, it was smurfing, and that's the big part of the situation. You're not necessarily having Galaxy focused on a 1v1, you're having smurfing focus in on just trying to shut them down and keep those numbers on Akaza down, and so far, it's proved semi-successful as Necros is on the Zarya to start?
I don't hate it. It's a very interesting one, but if you're able to get that beam up very, very deadly, you're going to be able to do so much damage, especially to Captain Crunch on this Sigma. Grabs does nothing. It doesn't absorb any of that. You're just able to go straight through it, pumping in so much damage. And at the moment, if you're them, you see Necry's here just trying to take front and center at the moment.
Yeah. But this is the problem with a Zarya in this situation, as things are going to be trading out more and more. Q eventually going to go down here as they need to come together and still find targets to go on. But you're getting super low right now as Captain is going to go down to NRG in this situation, as NRG is just doing a little bit of the 80 strafing, or more so left-right joysticking, I guess you could call it. But fight's going to be going, that's the problem with Zarya. If once you use both bubbles, your defense mechanism is gone. There's nothing left for you.
Yeah, and because Mental Institution took so long to actually get to point here, you're going to have Necry's and Akaza. Oh my goodness, smurfing! That's exactly what you need. That's going to slow down Necry's here for a moment, but still expect the Diva swap here from them to touch point, especially when they see the majority of their team coming back into the fray. 2 ticks already, though, for the Institution.
Yeah, you're going to see them rough situation. They need to try to survive. Looks like they will be able to momentarily, but now they have to try to retouch, and it is not going to happen. So now they're stuck on this Diva, which I'll be honest, is an okay matchup in the Sigma, but it's not going to stop a Flux. It's not going to stop a Rock. It's a 50-50 decision is what we'll call it.
But like I said, I think Diva is one of the strongest tanks in the game at the moment. They're able to get in and get out very fast. Defense matrix is something that's incredibly strong. Yeah, you're right. It won't stop a Rock, but it will stop almost everything else on the side of Mental Institution.
Yeah, unfortunately, the two of the strongest tools on a Sigma sometimes happens to be that Rock and that Flux, but it's something we're to see right here as Short Bus dedicating to this corner right now as they have a lot of ultimates around the corner. Safety of Mental Institution. Gonna have water start things out here. This Hamp Matrix just to really gain them a lot of space to work with right now as they do not know Akaza's there. They don't know. It's...
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No, Immortality
field though.
Yeah, but the damage is already done in this situation, and now you've used your best ultimate on top of that. A few of your best ultimates at that. They popped 4 ultimates for that fight. They're gonna get some like fair distance in this situation, but now you don't have that answer anymore, so they're gonna swap over. It looks like they're gonna be swapping these around to break back for now, which is interesting, I'll say.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Captain makes a swap as well, but no, they're gonna stick on it. But I mean, I look at this point as first point on watch point Gibraltar here. The defensive team is perfectly fine allowing that car to get pushed down to the bottom of that hill. It's very difficult for the attacking team to come back to it, especially when you see Short Bus here just kind of on the high ground, forcing out some utility here early on. And look at Short Bus, 3 ultimates ready to go. Mental Institution, all they have is a pulse bomb, so you're really banking a lot on the pulse bomb, finding 1 or 2.
Yeah, to be fair, again, if it finds Kyo or Dinks, that's massive, especially if Kyo gets hit and has to pop that rally early on. It can be very devastating for the long-term effects of this fight right now, because Mental Institution isn't going to work up to anything for this fight, as they're going to go full on aggression to try to see if they can get rid of Captain Crunch. Lots of damage being worked in right now. Pulse Bomb's going to come online. It's going to get nobody. A smurfing Captain Crunch going to go down, and you're going to have to take the reset button in this situation. The bright side is you got that cart moving a little bit further on the other side of the overpass. You get rid of that rally, but there's still 3 ultimates on the other side, and Mental Institution isn't particularly close to anything.
Yeah, there's still 3 ultimates, and Dinks will probably be able to build up to an orbital ray this fight. Same thing for Water, but if you're Mental Institution, this is kind of what we were talking about last map, when they kind of were just doing the same thing over and over and over again, not necessarily making any swaps here. If you're Captain Crunch, you're probably waiting for a Flux, but if it's not going to work here and you keep struggling fight after fight, you might have to give up the ultimate charge here to make a swap to something that can shut down Diva a little bit more, because Necry's is just playing with no fear at the moment.
Yeah, I can't really blame them either. You're Diva. You kind of get the right to not be in a fearful state on a character that can get up very easily, that can negate a lot of damage easily in the situation. And now the question is, how much are Short Bus willing to invest in this situation? As Akaza is just waiting, that nearly finds the 1-click onto Galaxy right now. Rough situation as they're going to get caught out. Energy goes down right now, but now the pincer is here, and Water's going to invest. This is a devastating decision right here. You're going to find a pick off of it. maybe I'm just a mad scientist and maybe it'll work, but unfortunately it will do literally nothing. And that right there is, in my opinion, a waste of an orbital ray.
It was, and especially because Dinks didn't use theirs. He didn't get Necries out of their mech, which would have definitely responded with using the bomb to get back into it here. You used a huge ultimate right there, and you found one pick off it, while Short Bus, they used Bob and found all the value they needed from it here. At least if you're Mental Institution, you can come in this next fight saying, hey, we have 3 ultimates ready to go. But Short Bus can say the exact same thing. Dinks, though, having the most important one on that side with their own orbital ray, but smurfing. That's a huge pick early on for them.
Yep, and now you can't lose anybody in this situation, but you're going to see Dinks fairly invest in the 4v5 here, because I think with that orbital rate, you could reasonably win a 4v5 as Heart's going to keep moving, rough situation, and it's going to, oh, what a perfect stun! You have to get rid of this baby diva, though, in this situation. They're going to go low, they are going to be able to get back into the mech, and they are going to be directly right back out of it, but it's still important that you find the picks right now, because you need to hit your shots, and unfortunately for Short Bus, they finally end up hitting them. Akaza needs to find a big stick here if they would have tried to pull this one back. We're not even going to get a touch. 2:40 on the clock. Essentially what Short Bus had on their own attack in the situation. Literally a 10-second difference.
10-second difference, and one big thing in that fight for Mental Institution is Cap and Crunch didn't invest their flux. That was one thing I thought we would have seen very early on, especially when that orbital ray came out from Dinks, because everyone for Short Bus was basically playing either on that high ground or inside the hallway. So if you throw that flux in the hallway, you would have gotten nothing out of that orbital ray here, but you have a pulse bomb to go as well. Ooh, smurfing, that would have been a huge pick early on, getting rid of Dinks, and you would have given yourself a great opportunity to potentially win the map here and now. But still, if you're Mental Institution, you have these 2 ultimates.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, you know, that kind of made up for it, I'll be honest. That was kind of clean on Dinks, and now Flux goes to the line. Nothing's going to stop these 2 from going down the situation. Necries and Keo going to go down, but the fight's still very much alive as Energy has now gotten 3 on the play, and now Galaxy, you have to find energy, but they were ready for them. That's a 4K, and at that point, they get taken out, but the damage is already done. What a shutdown.
And what did we say last map about this DPS line? Don't let them get hot. Yeah, they've been cold, but hey, you can always warm stuff up in Energy, showing us that right there. 4 kills, most of them headshots, I believe. And they built up to a Bob that fight. Yeah, Akaza used their pulse bomb. Look, they're already halfway to another one. They have Rally online. Mental Institution has now put themselves behind the 8 ball a little bit. This orbital ray from water is gonna have to be the thing that really wins you out a fight here, especially with that time bank where it's at. You only maybe have 1 or 2 left.
Yeah, Energy has been found out, is getting pushed out in this situation, has to grab the Mega to kind of sustain a little bit. Great thing for Necrise is that they are holding on this card the entire time, so they're not making any progress as here come this commitment come through. They're going to double down in this situation. Captain Crunch going to have just basically annihilate Necrise in that situation, and now everyone else going to have to fall back and reset. We see a little bit of stall going on at the back of the point. That is the right move in this situation to cause some stall. Give time for everybody to come back for one more fight.
And look, Short Bus making swaps here. Keo going over to the back. Necries going back over to the DB here. Energy dying there does hurt them a little bit. Bob's gonna have to be thrown out here, especially with Necries getting demeched.
Yeah, Immortality is there as the Bob is going to get activated. It's going to be thrown on the back of cart, or in the front of cart. So now you can take your time here. Galaxy, both playing a little too much, and now, if you're Captain Crunch, you need to die. If you're Water, you need to die as soon as possible and get out of there, because this is last fight coming online.
And if you're Short Bus, I don't understand why you decided to kill Captain Crunch as fast as you did. You're allowing them now to make changes. Look, you already see the Lucio. You see the Soj. Captain Crunch going to the ball. Okay, no more Lucio, but we have a Brig back instead. Galaxy, again, this Pulse Bomb's going to be huge, especially when we look at the other side. Dinks does have the Orbital Ray, so that Pulse Bomb has to go out onto them.
Yep, and now Orbital Ray gonna be thrown online. And remember, everyone get back out of it. Captain Crunch is the main touch in this situation. It's gonna be back and forth between Galaxy. They need to get back to the point and keep committing touches. Dinks getting low. Pulse Bomb gonna find no value. That was the only ultimate left in their situation as they're low. Galaxy gonna be taking down and smurfing. Has to try to see if they can carry things back in this situation. But Energy is shutting them down in this situation, and it's all falling apart. They were so close to make it happen. It's just Captain Crunch and Complex alive, and unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. They're going to get held just 2.5 meters short, and Short Bus going to move on to match point. And Mental Institution, I mean, it just feels like an unfortunate couple of fights where Energy just absolutely popped off and shut them down.
Yeah, and NRG, I mean, second straight game having play of the game, they have definitely shown us a lot tonight, but this play right here was huge. You see Captain Crunch trading kills with them, but NRG was just able to land shot after shot after shot and not really having a lot of pressure applied to them. Look, they know where Galaxy was. One bullet between the eyes, send them back to spawn to think about what they just did here. But Mental Institution, give them a lot of credit this map. They noticed their wrongs at points. They made swaps. That was something they really struggled on that first map. but they came a little bit too late. I think Mental Institution was about one fight away from having to make swaps earlier on, but everything worked out for them on point B to continue pushing with the Sigma. And Cap'n Crunch looked great on it, but I think Short Bus, they showed us some versatility. A lot of different stuff came out from a lot of their heroes, or a lot of their players, and it really did help their team in this map.
I mean, it 100% did in that situation. And again, I think it's nice to see the adjustment throughout the series here for Mental Institution. Especially, again, Smurfing, who has been maybe the most pivotal character for this team so far for Mental Institution. They've done a lot to shut down Energy and Aksa. The biggest problem is that they can't do it alone. This isn't that kind of situation where you can get away with that, especially when Necrise and Akaza are getting away with as much as they are still. And the fact that Kyo and Zink's doing a really good job surviving a lot of these fights where sometimes, frankly, they probably should be dying. So we have to keep seeing the adjustment from Men's Institution because you're not going to be able to run something like this again for our next map and likely for the rest of the series. So if this might have been their one chance to take a map and kind of force the series their own way, because now I mean, their backs are just entirely against the wall for the rest of it.
Yeah, and it's not a thing that they like to think about here. I mean, hell, they were just given their first map loss, now their second map loss in the regular season against the team that beat them in the midseason playoffs in the grand finals. To be fair, but I mean, you're seeing both teams have pop-off moments. Cap'n Crunch was the standout there in that map, or that round at least. Smurfing did a great job on the defensive round to stop Short Bus, but again, I said it, Energy and Akaza were very quiet through the first 2 points, but they chose a good time to come right back alive here. And I thought this play right here by Mental Institution was going to give them the map win, but NRG, and especially with Necrise making the swap over to the Diva, allowing NRG the time to come back out there and throw Bob, was the difference there in our second map. And I mean, we're gonna see the stats here in a brief moment that really shows us the difference here. And I mean, there's a couple differences I can point at here, but I mean, tanks are almost even. They had about the same damage, a little bit less elims if you're Cap'n Crunch, and it's almost even across the board. Akaza, though, give him a lot of credit for just being able to stay alive.
I mean, 100% in this situation, for as many deaths as they were, the fact that Aksa and Dansk were able to stay at 5 and 6 respectively in the situation is a lot, and double down on the fact of how much work both of our units put into this situation as well in this situation. But in this situation, again, I was talking a lot about Smurfing throughout the entire series and how much they were doing, and the numbers really aren't going to reflect it as much as you would realistically hope, but in this comparison that we're about to see up, you're going to see Smurfing put in a lot of work, and unfortunately, it doesn't show as much as you would really hope in the stats.
Yeah, it's different map, almost same results, and we have different heroes as well, but this was kind of the gap we saw last map as well. NRG, I mean, they came alive there. You see the eliminations, that entire map, 22 per 10. It's huge. The final blows almost double what Smurfing got there. Yeah, I know the math doesn't necessarily work out to that, but I'm gonna say almost double because it's easier than saying what it actually is. But the damage, that's another big thing. NRG constantly played that Ash, and it seemed like every time we saw him throw a dynamite out, it was landing onto 3 or 4 people. That's how close this Mental Institution team was playing, and that's why you saw Dynamite just find so much value. Death as well, another thing we talked about, a huge thing. Energy did a good job at just being able to keep themselves alive. Smurfing, because they were playing that cast or most times, they had to be up with Captain. They had to be by their supports, which were constantly getting pressure applied to them.
I mean, yeah, 100%, and that's why you're not seeing the numbers being as big in this situation. Energy was able to kind of sit back a lot and kind of just pot shot away in a lot of the fights and came up clutch in I mean, more than once, quite frankly, in the situation. But either way, that's a good showing for both of these DPS in this map. Unfortunately, Energy just really is getting the better in a lot of these situations right now where it feels like maybe there are more fights that you should be winning if you're Mental Institution, but there are the clutches that come off the back of NRG and Akaza as well in that situation. So it's almost like an unfortunate situation where maybe you're not committing enough to shut down these DPS. You're winning the tank battle in a lot of situations. Your supports are still able to kind of stay alive, but perhaps you're focusing too much on one person where perhaps you need to start shifting your focus of damage elsewhere.
Yeah, and one other thing we saw there from a couple times from both teams, but it mostly fell on Mental Institution. Sometimes they were throwing ultimates out at the most inopportune times. Fights had already been lost. We saw Orbital Rays come out to try to have huge plays come out, but didn't find the value. DPS ultimates not necessarily finding anything. Pulse bombs, I think we maybe only saw about 1 or 2 pulse bomb kills that entire map there. So even though I talked about the pressure from the pulse bomb is not necessarily getting kills, but just being there, still you want to be able to find a kill, and both support or both tracers really struggled at finding sticks.
Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle in that situation. Again, the Juno, not the easiest person to stick in the world. They kind of have their vertical and horizontal mobility at that. Brick has a giant shield in front of their face, so it can be difficult at times. Honestly, we saw him get whiffed. Let's be perfectly real. A couple of whiff pulse bombs throughout that series, but
yeah.
I mean, either way, in this situation, Dex says, I'm looking down at that score, and something doesn't seem right about that. Dex, something seems a little off. I mean, for our pred, it's great. We'll keep it that way. Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, we're happy. But either way, it's a situation where you have to bounce back. You can only really hit the reverse sweep at this point, which is it's a very uncommon thing, especially nowadays with Overwatch. But they've got the opportunity to take the momentum back in their hands.
Yeah, but also right now, I think we're going to throw it to a quick break. This is the best opportunity for Mental Institution to kind of think about where they've gone wrong this series, because they are a team that definitely knows that they have made mistakes. Shortbus too, they've made mistakes as well, but this is a huge opportunity for Mental Institution to try to lock back in and force a reverse sweep here. But Hunter, like I said, we're going to throw it to a quick break. We'll be right back.
Just
Welcome back, everybody. Here, sitting at a 2-0 series already. Thought this one would be a little more closer by the numbers, and while it has definitely been close in terms of the back and forth, we didn't expect to be at match point this early, and my god, I'm not sleeping tonight.
We like to have fun here.
we do a little bit of shenanigans here on a Halloween weekend, but a little scary
We
today.
we scar people for life here.
That's our motto here at CGL, you know. But either way, again, didn't expect to be a match point here within the third map of our series here, Dex. We expect this to be a bit of a back and forth affair, and Mental Institution had opportunity to strike back, and unfortunately just fell a single fight short back on Midtown.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You could say we didn't expect to see this, but we know how good this Short Bus team is. So this is not this is not out of the realm of possibility here. Short Bus is an incredibly difficult team to go up against. I thought Mental Institution would, especially after their first point performance on Nepal, maybe take that map, but they just weren't able to really continue that momentum, especially when we saw the mirror come out from Short Bus. But that's what makes Short Bus a very, very scary team. It doesn't matter who's playing. They have a deep hero pool and can make the other team really struggle into figuring out what's going to work to shut them down.
Yeah, that's going to be the situation here, because this is going to be very rough as to what you want to try to do here, because moving on to this third and, for real, potentially final map here, this isn't going to be some big wide open point. This isn't going to be something where things can change around a lot. This is Clash, and more specifically, this is Throne of Anubis. It's a very linear map where, honestly, there's not a lot of things you can realistically run here. You can try to run things, but this is where the Ramatra's going to come back into play here. This is where that Tracer is probably going to come alive. That Action, that Soldier going to be back. And so far, that mirror has played into the favor of Short Bus throughout the series.
Yeah, it really has. And it comes down to the points where we've talked about Mental Institution. When they see that mirror, they have maybe 1 or 2 fights to try to say, like, can we go up against it and win? And a lot of times it really hasn't worked out for them. And something where you can tell they want to make swaps, but they don't necessarily know what to make a swap to. It seems like they're kind of stuck with what they're running. I will say this, the Sigma for Cap and Crunch did look good. It did look good against the Ramatra. It did look good against the Sigma that Short Bus ran. It struggled a little bit against the Diva that Short Bus ran, but still, it was able to break through a lot. It allowed their DPS to kind of go off and find a lot of picks, find a lot of value. Something we saw them struggle with, especially towards the end of that first map. Second map, like I said, the DPS for that team really did step up. But one thing me and you talked about during break for Short Bus, you talked about they needed to be, or Mental Institution needed to be able to shut down Akaza. But I just said, if they shut down Akaza, you're going to allow Energy to have a lot of space. If you shut down Energy and Akaza, you're going to allow Necry's to come in and just take over the game. That's what I said about this core, this DPS line and tank core, that core 3 for Short Bus, maybe one of the scariest cores to go up against in this game. Because if you try to shut down 2 of them, that third one is going to be right there to make your life a living hell.
Yeah, and it can be very devastating. And in this situation, it could be devastating very quickly here, as again, it is the first to 5 in this situation, and if you just get pushed straight through the entire thing, it is over just like that in that situation. So this first point, or more so the center point, gonna be very important, because we're probably gonna have a lot of fights here, and that's where it's gonna be dictating the pace here. If you can win that first fight, you can really keep the pace in your favor and really try to take control of this map.
And look, one interesting thing coming out, Galaxy's normally been on the Tracer, but it looks like Smurfing might potentially be going over to the Tracer here. So Mental Institution making a little bit of a swap here very late in this series, especially if this is our final map. You need Smurfing and Galaxy with this swap here to pop off in their own right, match Akaza and Energy on the other side. But I like Smurfing here, already just hovering and making sure they're marking where Akaza is.
Yep, 100%. Gonna be an important fight to get things going here right now. Is you want to see, again, if you can find Energy or Galaxy, depending on your situation, it would be massive. Water burning away, gonna get forced out of the fight, gonna give Short Bus a bit of a better opportunity to try to find a pick, as they're gonna opening up halfway through right now. Institution has to eventually force some bodies back onto this point right here, and it's gonna have to be Cap and Crunch, eventually forcing the way, trying to run through. Galaxy does get the better of Energy in this situation, so now the point is slowly gonna start flipping the other way here, as Dinks and Keo both kind of low right now, supporting each other up right now, as Cap and Crunch doing their best to kind of sustain on the point and push them out. In this situation, they can try to stall out, but it's not gonna be the easiest.
And you see right here, Galaxy is trying to see where Akaza is. Point almost about to be captured, but Akaza got to get the touch here to make sure Short Bus has another opportunity here to get a fight, especially with them already going very aggressively in.
Yeah, 100% in this situation. Fight's still going along, but it's eventually going to go through. So 1-0. Institution going to start strong. They can do a quick little regroup here. Short Bus is just going to have to take the back out.
And hey, if you're a mental institution, you needed that point. You needed to have the fast start. Finding these picks before the point opens up is great, but Short Bus is going to be able to come back in. You need to find one more to really stagger them out. Finding Keo out would be huge, but that's probably the worst thing that could have happened if you're the institution.
Yeah, that's not a good situation because you're sitting bodies on this point, and that's fine. That kind of buys you an extra couple of seconds as well because they have to go on the point and force away your thing. But now Pulse comes online. Not going to kill anybody. Captain Crunch is going to be able to sustain through it all right now. And now, I think you commit Bob to this. I think you commit Bob. I think you eventually think about committing your Orbital Ray if it gets matched by Dink. But it's going to come out first and foremost. If you're Galaxy, you think about it, but you've already gotten rid of 2 in this situation, and now you consider whether or not it's the right choice. As we see the recall be brought through, no prediction there. But as things are, they're going to take this 2-0 for Mental Institution. This is a fantastic start.
A fantastic start, and look at Mental Institution here. Both Orbital Rays were invested. Mental Institution, that was the one thing we've been talking about a lot here. Short Bus always seemed to find more value with their ultimates when they were kind of mirrored like that. Mental Institution, though, 4 ultimates ready to go here. Short Bus is only going to have 2 early on. Energy will build up to a Bob very, very quickly here. Or hell, they land one more shot, Bob's going to be online. So if you're Mental Institution, you play fast, and that's exactly a great way to start off.
Yeah, but the trade at the end of the day is going to favor Short Bus in this situation, especially when you have done a full-on trade and you committed the ult in this situation. So now you have to question how you want to take this because it's not easy to take all 3 ticks here. And in fact, it looks like they're just going to back off and play for D at this point, I imagine.
I mean, this is something we see a lot happen on Clash. I don't like it. I want to see the attacking team go after E a little bit just to try to force out ultimates because look, as you try to fall back, you're just playing right in the Short Bus's hands.
Yeah, that's the situation right now, and that's going to be a great kill on to Smurfing as well. And now it's where it gets rough right now, because now you're going to be down, you're going to be setting up as the point unlocks in 10 seconds. Bright side is that ults are kind of both ways right now with the exclusion of, like, Pulse Bombs coming online. Honestly, the biggest mistake you can make your advanced institution is try to use too many ults too late.
Yeah, you cannot, that's one thing we've seen both teams kind of make mistakes on. Mental Institution has been one of them here. Pulse Bomb coming out from Kaza, not going to find anything. So that's actually a great start here for Mental Institution because you have that backline pressure that we have from the Pulse Bomb being out. But Bob out on that high ground. Going to force Mental Institution to play down.
Yeah, but eventually they have to force their way to the point. They're finding the picks, but now you're estimating on the point. Captain Crunch now has to consider whether or not to use this Annihilation because Necrise, I think 100% is going to hit the Annihilation here in a few seconds here to try to sustain and stay alive. So Bob's going to get committed. Energy already used theirs, so Galaxy is using theirs, and now they're going to get pushed back further and further and further. So now, potential 3v1 coming here online, but a retouch is very possible.
It's going to be possible because Keo does have the rally ready to go here. Both rally is gone from Mental Institution. So if you're Short Bus, you combo the rally and the oh goodness.
That was a lot of consecutive hits in a row. That is a combo breaker right there. As Annihilation going to be brought in right now. And in fact, they're going to double down the situation. Necrise is being kept out there this entire time. You have to get rid of Keo or Dinks in the situation. You're going to be able to get rid of both of them as Dinks is going to get forced out. This is a 3-1 Mental Institution with a lot of momentum on their side. And now you've got matching Orbital Rays to Dinks.
You got matching Orbital Rays. You don't have matching Ashes anymore, as Akaza is able to one-clip them there. And honestly, I was going to say, if you're Mental Institution, you're in a really good spot right now. You can go try to get a tick here on point E, and then give it up and go back to point D and try to fight again to win that one and win the map. But now that you lose Galaxy early on, who has been very pivotal on how you've been playing, because the Dynamites have been huge. They've been able to find a lot of kills here this map already. You might already just have to give up point E and, again, go back and fight point D again. But I mean, you do see him going for it on that side, but it might just be to try to force out some stuff from Short Bus.
Well, there's only one thing to put in this situation, and Water just cannot commit in this situation. That's just the long and the short of it. You don't commit an ultimate to this fight. Especially with Complex gone, this fight is over. You are buying time, but there's no really time to buy in this situation. You're kind of just generating ultimates as fight's going to come to an end. Water does get Akaza on the way out, but unfortunately, I don't think they're getting out of here alive anyway.
They're not. And, I mean, you were right about generating stuff that fight, but not for Mental Institution. For Short Bus, you have them generate ults, basically. You just kind of fed. They have the Orbital Ray they're holding on that. Akaza was very close to a Pulse Bomb, but NRG that fight, they almost basically got Bob off of that. And you look to the other side, Galaxy does not have Bob. They are actually a decent amount away from it as well. So if NRG lands 1 or 2 headshots, Bob's going to be online. That allows them to play very aggressively here. Because we've seen where they've thrown Bob's, been on high points, but I would not be surprised if this time they decided to throw it on point instead and force Mental Institution to play away from point.
Yeah, it could be considered a waste in some areas right now as Necry is going to get deleted instantly as Galaxy is going to get caught out, so that bot can be very hard to work towards as Dinks basically frontlining in that situation. Doesn't work out as Smurfing is going to get caught out, and now it's just the supports and Captain Crunch here to get things working. It's a 3v3 that kind of favors Shortbus right now, but Necry's is going to back on the Doomfist, which I don't know how I feel about this quite yet.
They want to just cause a little bit of chaos here. They want to disrupt a lot because this point is actually very big for Shortbus. If they win it, it's back to even, and we're heading back to point C. Captain Crunch just throws himself off the map, so it looks like Mental Institution is kind of already just saying, okay, we're going to give you this point. We're going to play a best of 3 here now.
Yeah, remember the spawns are literally, they're right there. Those are the spawns, literally in front of NRG's face. So a retouch isn't possible, but this means Mental Institution will be able to set up at the same degree that Shortbus will be able to. So this fight perhaps gonna be important. Oh, that is a bad way to start if you're Shortbus.
But if you're Shortbus, that's not necessarily a big deal. Energy will still get back just as the point opens up, so Bob can be something that comes out. But you look at Mental Institution, you have 4 ultimates, and you're finding picks when you really shouldn't be. Shortbus, this is probably the worst positioning we've seen them play all series long.
Yeah, that's the long and the short of it right now. Energy is going to have this Bob, so a retouch here, by the way, is very possible. Necrise can touch, a Bob can touch, Akaza can touch, and I imagine they're going to go for it. They're the team that's been very willing to go for these fights and make something happen, but now you're going to see what you can get out of Mental Institution here. If you can get more than a lot, that would be fantastic. Galaxy literally in the worst spot possible as they get caught out. No Bob to their name. Captain Crunch has to try to find something here as Complex is kind of just pot-shotting away, hoping to find something. And Necrise goes down, and that could end the fight right there. Still a lot of chaos, and that's exactly what they're thriving for. As Akaza just comes in, just goes in with an assassin, getting rid of the backline. Akaza might be bringing this back on their own. As the point getting ready to flip over, you need to keep the touches on the board as things end up going down. Akaza with a 3rd final blow, and they're just going to double down on the situation. What the Knif, by the way, it's insane, but eventually they're going to be blown away in time, right? Certainly.
This Annihilation might actually keep this point alive here for Mental Institution. I thought it was a waste, but Bob coming out as well. The Bob might be a little bit questionable there if you're Galaxy, but you did just put yourself on the map point here, which is a lot better of a spot than you've been in this entire series so long here. But you look at both sides here. They both invested a lot into that point. There's really not going to be an ultimate ready until about midway through a fight when it's going to be both those orbital raids again. And this map, unlike every other map, Mental Institution has come out on top, and they both get thrown out at the same time. If you're the Institution, you have to feel very, very good about this fight.
Yeah, right now, a little bit of a break and an Ash off over here on the side as the point's slowly getting flipped over. Water is ahead. That's most important to note. They are ahead, and now you have to wonder what to do, but they're going to go in super deep here, and they're going to be in 2 different splits as Water. A bit of a rough situation right now. I'm going to see if they can get Necrise as Water sitting at 90% Dinks, 80% accounting. Galaxy has gone down first, though, and that is a very bad situation. Perhaps, honestly, you might have just gone after the wrong court in this situation, because now you're in a room with a Ramatra, and that is not the place you want to be.
Water's just trying to build up the orbital ray as fast as they could, but they did not get it off.
Yeah, and now this fight is over, by the way. Captain Crunch needs to die. Just needs to die on the point. Just needs to stall for as long as possible, because now it's going to come down to one final fight. And unfortunately, with the way the ults are right now, Shortbus is so far ahead in the ult game.
And Mental Institution, so close yet so far away. They're split up now. But look, Shortbus, Orbital Ray online, Bob, Pulse Bomb, Annihilation, all about to be online. If you're Mental Institution, you have the Orbital Ray and you have a Pulse Bomb. You have to live a decent amount here, or you need your DPS here to find picks early on.
Yep, and now here we go. Overrate going to be used here. Water going to respond in the exact same way. Gonna see if he can find any picks. Pulse Bomb comes online. Dinks is going to get literally 9 health, but has to sustain there, ready to go. And Necrise just waiting for their opportunity to strike. Captain Crunch is still alive. Necrise is going to die, but Energy is back on the scene. A 4v4. Captain Crunch has to stay alive. This isn't a question, but they're going to go down. Energy is back on the scene with a 2K. And now you don't have a realistic retouch here. You have to force bodies onto this point, and it's not going to be easy. It has to be smurfing.
It has to be smurfing, but you have an Annihilation, you have Rally. You need to just be able to stall out as long as you can. You need Captain Crunch to come back, because you have the advantage now if you're able to get one more fight here.
Yeah, and here comes the Annihilation and that Rally being used. They're running it down. They need to get at least one pick. Kyo gets forced out, and now they're looking, and the bodies are just gone. Just running down the backline for absolute free. The ultimate finally coming online. NRG gonna shut it down. 2 already down. And it is just Captain Crunch. They managed to reset the timer, and with these swaps, maybe there's a retouch, but it looks so unrealistic now.
Can Smurfing get back? That's going to be the question here. You see him kind of getting staggered out. Galaxy going to be able to dash on to get a touch here. Smurfing has to come in very fast, and you're looking for the rest of the team to follow up, but it's going to be very difficult here now for the institution.
Yeah, and that boop ends it right there. That ball's going to get forced around. You force a lot of people off at the top, but this isn't a situation where there's a cliff right there. Epic Rush is going to go down eventually, and that should spell the end of the series. Complex taken down for good measure, and once again, on the back of these DPS finding amazing picks, Robust is going to take this series 3-0 fashion here. Institution, I mean, credit to them. They fought back super hard in this series, almost made it their own here, but again, Shortbus just clutching up where it felt like times where they shouldn't have been able to.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right there. I mean, I think you were right. This final fight on point, or the final point D, kind of hurt Mental Institution. They went after the majority of the team, but again, you give a cause of the space, they're going to be able to find the pick. Yeah, we saw Galaxy absolutely popping off on the Ash this map and doing a lot, but Kaza, again, just always staying alive, always finding a lot of elims, most elims in the lobby that map. And least deaths. I mean, they are a constant presence that they had to deal with, but they just struggled to really do.
Yeah, that's kind of the situation right now, and obviously the numbers all over the place in the situation, and look at the amount of value that Cap and Crunch ended up getting in that final map, nearly hitting that 13k damage, the most in the lobby. On top of that as well, was doing as much as they realistically could, but again, it was literally just the fight here between the DPS here in the situation. And obviously, we'll kind of go through a bit of a comparison dex to kind of show the numbers and really break it down. As it's really been the battle of these DPS throughout the day here, and even on the back and forth series, NRG just clearly just having way more numbers up on board.
Yeah, and I mean, every map so far we've had the DPS kind of comparison, but it's warranted. NRG and Galaxy, they were a great battle back and forth here, but you just see the difference here. Elims coming out from NRG, damage done per 10. I mean, it's insane to see that from these players. Yeah, they're two of the best teams here, and probably the two best teams here in this console tier. But again, you're seeing the main differences right now. This Short Bus team, they have been playing together for a long time. They know they know basically how everyone's going to be playing. You have to be able to shut down this DPS line, but we talked about going into the final map. If you shut down the DPS line, you're just going to allow Necries to pop off. It's a very, very difficult thing to do here. Galaxy was almost toe for toe here on this final map, but I really do think after the third point cap that Mental Institution got, you saw the change and NRG just came alive.
Yeah, and with that being the situation now, that win against Mental Institution, Shortbus is now the only NA console open team left that hasn't lost a regular season game, and in fact hasn't lost a game at all. They're the only team remaining now. And with the way things are, with there only be 1 week left of regular season competition, they are the #1 seed. Nothing is realistically changing that fact, and that has to be, I mean, one, a massive weight off your shoulders to be able to have that very first pick and basically pick whatever team you can feel like you can beat the easiest, which is, I mean, a massive advantage to go into a big tournament like that.
Or, I mean, you could pick easiest, or you could just pick your who you consider to be your toughest opponent and try to knock them down to that lower bracket after the first round. I mean, it's very interesting, but I think Short Bus, they have all the momentum in the world. They have shown us season after season, they are a team that you cannot sleep on. You are actually a team that you really have to fear. It doesn't matter who's out there for them. They are a scary, scary team. And Mental Institution, they were close. Every map was really, really close. We cannot stress that enough here. I mean, we went to 3 on Nepal. It was a close hold there on Midtown, and then we went all 9 points here on Throne of Anubis. It wasn't like Short Bus basically blew them out. It was very, very close, but these kind of series, and when you start to see when teams are better than the other, when it's very, very close, because it always seemed like Short Bus was able to come out in key fights on top. They were able to come out on top in more of those key fights throughout this entire series than what Mental Institution was able to do.
Yeah, that's what it was, is that Mental Institution was able to keep up in a lot of aspects, but when it came to clutch moments, I mean, that was just Short Bus's wheelhouse in that situation. Like, there were times where Short Bus was playing from behind. We saw it here on Throne of Anubis. We saw it, honestly, for a short bit of time over back on Midtown, where it kind of felt like, okay, they're getting pushed really hard. It'd be a surprise if they managed to hold here. And again, NRG just manages to clutch up and be able to do so. So again, fantastic job for them. Still hasn't dropped a single game or a map in the regular season. Is a fantastic job. And you know what the best part about these games are, at least the aftermath of these games are, Dex? know what that is.
We get to speak with one or maybe even possibly two of the players.
Yeah, exactly. You read my mind, but we're gonna go ahead and get that set up here as we're gonna have Necrise on the other side of this break. So don't delay because we got a nice interview on the other side of this break. Welcome back, everybody, from the other side of this break. We just saw another 3-0 victory. Short Bus managing to take down, honestly, a team that should have come in and was expecting a little bit of a heavier fight here, Dexatron. But at the end of the day, we got an interview on our side. Necrise is going to be joining us here, the tank on Short Bus. First of all, congratulations on a big victory here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, it was although it said 3-0, it was a lot closer than what the scoreline entails, in my opinion.
No, we 100% agree. We made that point many times. It felt very back and forth. But the fact is, you were the only two teams coming into this series here today that not only hadn't had dropped a game in the regular season, but neither of you have dropped a map here in the regular season. So as good as you were, what was the confidence level kind of like going into this match against a team that, while you did beat in the mid-season, had yet to drop a map to literally anybody else?
Well, honestly, our confidence level is usually like at the highest, no matter what roster we're playing with. It could be just substitutes or whatever. But we knew that this team wasn't like a pushover team, if that makes sense. The thing is, when we came into the first map on the Paul, we were a little bit, you could say, not locked or fully dialed in. And it was like midway through that first point, we were like, okay, guys, we need to lock in because these guys are like they're not a joke, you know. So I would say we had like a lot of confidence going into it, but you could say maybe too much, and they kind of like got our respect, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it throughout the night here. A lot of back and forth. Every map was close, but there was throughout this entire series, I called you, Akaza, and NRG probably one of the scariest core of any team here in probably any of the tiers here of CGL. Akaza and NRG just seem like they're able to pop off on their own, knowing that you have two DPS who, at any moment, at the drop of a hat, they can just flip a fight. How does that make you feel as a tank?
Honestly, it's the best. The best feeling, knowing that every game I go into, I can confidently say I have the best DPS lineup in the whole like in all of CGL, in my opinion. Maybe not like the PC tiers and stuff, but they're really good. They can compete. We've played against a lot of PC teams itself, and they've held their own contenders. Some very good players. So for me, as a tank player, like going into the games, it just gives me even more confidence to go and play my own game, knowing that they're always there to pick up any slack that our team may have.
Yeah, and I mean, going to the other two players on your team tonight, we didn't talk about them a lot, which is, in our opinion, probably not the best. But Keo and Dinks did so much throughout the series here tonight. It seemed like you guys were in sync throughout the entire night. So almost the same question, but knowing you have this type of support line that allows you to play as aggressively as you want, especially in those last couple maps, how does that necessarily make your entire team play?
I don't want to like take away from their credit, but it kind of goes with the same story with NRG and Akaza being so dominant. But I feel that like our entire roster can all do like an amazing job on whatever they're put on. And Dinks is not even a support player like mainly. He can flex to whatever, and Water hasn't even been playing too much recently. But we're comfortable with anyone being put on any role. We just know that as a team, we've been playing together for like 2 years now, that no matter what lineup we come out on, we think we're the best no matter who we're playing. So I think we're just all on the same wavelength, and it just feels really good when we're playing, just super confident.
Hey, no, it makes complete sense, and obviously you are warranted to have the confidence. You are the number 1 seed right now. There's probably nothing that's going to take you out of the number 1 seed when it comes to your group. And obviously that's going to have a lot of playoff implications as well, being able to pick that first opponent, create potentially an easy route, or potentially take on a very tough team out the gate to try to knock them down. But you've managed to face a lot of teams. You've managed to watch a lot of good teams as well. Is there anybody going into the playoffs that you're kind of hoping to have a match against, or maybe even a second match against for that matter?
To be honest, we were really only eyeballing this team going into midseason, but after midseason ended and we won, we aren't really too concerned with who we're gonna play, or just like whoever we're gonna play, because we know that most of the teams are looking to just play us. And it was kind of interesting to see like all the new teams that have like formed together to see how good they were, and there are some solid teams, but we still are really confident and feel that we're a good step ahead of each of them. So I don't think so, I'll be honest. I don't think we're really too concerned with who we're going to play.
Hey, well, Dex, we love to see that level of confidence, but obviously we want to let you be able to go and celebrate. But before we let you go, if there's anybody you want to thank, maybe anybody you want to shout out, anything you want to say, we're going to open the floor for you to be able to do so.
I'll make it brief. So just thanks to everyone on my team who played today and plays any other games. To our manager Kylie, she's super important for our team, keeps everything organized. To you guys, the beautiful casters, Headrammer, thank you guys. That's pretty much it. You guys do a great job.
Hey, we'll we'll take the compliments at this point. Hey, why not? But either way, great win for y'all today. Take time, go celebrate, go eat some food, just have yourself a good night, because y'all have definitely earned it.
Yeah, got it. You guys have a great night. Thank you.
Right, take care. That is Dex, I will say that is a level of confidence that you don't see on every team and every player. That is something that is not as common as you would probably think.
No, it's not. And I mean, at this point, with how good Short Bus has been in the past couple seasons, and especially this season, that confidence is well earned. It's well deserved as well. And you even had them talk about like they needed to lock in after that first point on Nepal, and we even kind of called that out a little bit. Like they were all over the place. Nothing really seemed to work. It's even though they knew that this team of Mental Institution was probably their next biggest competition, they still said, you know, we could maybe try to do something a little bit differently. But no, they recognized almost instantly that they couldn't do that locked in. And we saw them play an incredible series, still very, very close. I will give them that. They even called that out themselves. But one thing is, and you heard Necrest talk about it, talk about a lot of the other players on this team. Hell, there's 10 players on Short Bus. They could split up into 2 teams. And I still think the 2 teams would probably be 2 of the best teams here in this tier.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about having a really big roster in that situation where not only do you have a lot of options, but even in worst case scenario, you know, sometimes teams cancel scrims. It happens. People, you know, scheduling issues happen. If that doesn't happen, it's like, all right, let's get the whole team on. Let's just play a pug. Let's just put our starter 5 with our other 5 and literally just play a scrim. Let everybody get practice. So that's kind of the great part of having such a big roster, having so many pieces in so many different areas, and being able to push them around without it actually like changing up how the roster actually plays. It still plays a very similar way at a very similar skill level, and that's a beautiful thing to have, because having 5 great members, that's amazing. Having 10 great members where everyone is a strong piece, that is incredible to have.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, hey, they go to now 8-0 on the season. They get the bonus win from the mid-season tournament victory. So, I mean, they're already having a perfect season. They have one more game next week. And I mean, to them, they probably know it's going to be difficult, but I still fully expect them to come out on top. But next week is going to be a very, very fun week here at CGL, with a lot of those playoff games becoming, a lot of those series being playoff implications.
Yeah, it's a lot of playoff implications for these teams. While you do have people like Mental Illusion, like Short Bus, that kind of already really have their spots in place, that's not the case for every team right now. This match next week for a lot of these teams is going to mean potentially everything, not just for the sake of seeding, but honestly, having even a spot in the playoffs, because it's not every team getting through. There's absolutely no guarantee that you're simply going to be getting in. So a lot of these teams basically going to have what will essentially be wildcard matches in a sense, which in its own right is super entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. But Hunter, I could hear the desk all coming back here. I think it's time to throw it back to them for us to wrap up the night. So why don't you make the throw?
Yeah, I'll make the throw over to the desk right now. I know they're going to flame us a little bit, but they're going to have a good time. They're going to break it down super well, and I promise I'll get the next one correct. I promise we will. We'll do it right next time. But we're going to leave that to y'all. Take it away.
Well. Looks like we were right this time, casters. Welcome back to the desk. Again, I'm Darth Clown. That's Red Scout. That's Australian Spectreon and the Penguin joining me on the desk today. Yeah, I mean, obviously we all got the winners correct. Me and Spectreon were the ones that got the scoreline correct, but still, we're feeling good about this. But let's talk about this series. And first, I want to hear Soav. What were your thoughts on it?
I mean, it kind of went the way I think most of us expected, right? Like, at least us smarties on the desk kind of knew a team like Short Bus is, you know, this is Goliath. This is like who you think of, you know, when you think of CGL, like teams, people who've been around forever. So it's not like, it was kind of expected, but I do think the one thing we were a little bit kind of more expecting is, you know, we saw a lot of different looks from the side of Short Bus. You know, just kind of seemed like at times they were just trying to force what worked for them. So like it was a very close game, even though the scoreline doesn't really show it, just because it felt like, you know, Short Bus really was still trying to figure a lot of things out in a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like there was a lot of times that they were just kind of throwing out concepts to see what would stick, but then they'd lock in and be like, yep, we're just gonna kind of win now.
If I may take Soav's phrasing, go a little bit harder on it. This game would be way less close if Short Bus had the Doomfist hero unbound. Remove it from the keyboards, ban it in the lobby, I don't care. If we don't see Doom here, then the amount of ult charge that they would have had in multiple good scenarios, because like I don't know whether it's working in scrims or not. I don't know whether it was like a vibe call on the day. They found no success with it. The Doom looks pretty poor, which is really strange because when they're on this RAM, even when they're on the Sigma, they work it so much better. So honestly, it feels like once they actually did lock in and play a real hero, it was pretty comfortable for them. But it was their constant attempts to try like all different tanks that made it harder than it really needed to be.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the general consensus of the three of us that were in the call together. Headrammer, I want to hear what your thoughts are, because you were kind of on your own little island because you were doing the stats as well.
Yeah, I agree with some aspects. On the Doom pick, I mean, Doom is definitely a comfort hero for Necrise. Necrise is extremely good at playing Doomfist, and their team oftentimes really excels in times where, like, you know, chaos is happening, and their DPS can kind of do whatever they want, and Necrise can just go in and just, like, you know, take advantage of people's mistakes. I think this, like you guys said, this series did have its moments where it was pretty close in general. We saw teams having to counter pick each other back and forth a little bit, both on the tank picks as well as on the DPS, and like Necrise said in the interview, you know, they realized, like, okay, we actually do have to try in this series because the other team is pushing us a little bit, and that was evidence in here. But we also saw moments where a bit of the veteran experience kind of came in, and we saw plenty of fights where, and I think this is where things got a little out of control for Mental Institution, is they would make a really good play, essentially win the fight, say get like 2 early picks or something like that via, like, say some kind of ult combination, and then say like Energy would be on the sideline and just get like 4 kills uncontested or something like that. And it shows, like, you know, they're getting a little bit maybe too excited in the fights, like, oh, we gotta kills, we gotta go in, but then it's like forgetting that, like, you know, Energy was never cleared out from the left side. And then, I mean, the DPS line of Energy and Beastman, whenever those two are just allowed to be uncontested, it's just, they can legitimately make any fight winnable. It is disgusting.
I mean, they swung so many fights. Like, there were fights that we were just like, okay, no, they're done here. No, Energy hits 3, Energy hits 4. Cool. You invested ult into that fight and still lost to Energy just clicking your heads. Like, it's just wild.
I do genuinely think that from what we saw today, then it was honestly better Overwatch played from Men's Institution, honestly. But just the raw DPS performance out of Energy and Akaza was just, like, unmatched. Smurfing and Galaxy couldn't contest. And, you know, if it's possible, you can full screen my cam here. I've actually got a replay that I want to talk through to just show what I thought the level of macro was here. So
it's gonna be upside down
on full screen. I'd hope not, because that'd be really confusing. So let's get this in. We seeing this okay?
Yep.
Here we go. Yeah, so, okay, I've flubbed it already. But already, we see we've pushed really deep into spawn. All of these defenders are kind of stuck at spawn. We've got a Ram holding cart, which is good, holding the spawn doors. But our DPS are on such passive angles. Energy has to be wide on the right side, otherwise we have no crossfires. And Necrise is on an island here, so when they rock window him, when he goes down, look how the map instantly shrinks. Everybody is instantly back in main, there's no DPS angles, there's no way of clutching this fight out, and so it's weird setups like this. And, you know, really nice plays, honestly. The rock into the window is a great way of just blasting the front line. That made it so hard for Short Bus to keep fighting, but, you know, they're individuals, as we saw time and time again. Energy would clothesline 3, Akaza would double kill 2, that made it competitive.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we can segue that to our series MVP, because it was really between the 2 DPS players, but in the end, it was kind of Energy really just shone through the entire series long. And I mean, we already talked about why they got the MVP, because they were changing fights, but I want to, they were killing everyone. But I want to hear more on some of, like, the more in-depth reasons why, like, Spectron, why did we give Energy the MVP?
I mean, as we mentioned, both the DPS are finding kills out of nowhere. Energy just looks to be doing it a little bit more. One fight that I remember in distinct detail is on Village. And yeah, this exact Ray fight. How does he kill 2 there? Nobody kills 2 there. The ult trade, it should have been a Mental Institution fight win, but Energy is just that guy. Just consistent multi-frags, and there was one on this map as well where he kills 4, just insane value from the hit scan, but we should really not be seeing it.
Yeah, especially for console players, especially when you think about consoles and hit scan, like, that is not an easy thing to do. But Energy just made it look like it was just second nature. You would swear they were playing from a mouse and keyboard with how they were winning duels and how they were getting this value. It also helps that, you know, the front line, Necrise was also just pulling so much attention in a lot of the ways. Like, every single play you see here, Energy is just on a good angle where the rest of the team is setting them up for success. You know, we always love to shout out the MVP player, but the team behind really does a lot of helping for that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Headrammer, again, I mean, like, these plays, and obviously, you know, they're being hand cammed. They're not. There's no way they could possibly be doing this on MNK, and it's just always incredible to see high-level hit scan players that can do those sort of things on controller.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think beyond just their mechanical talent, they're a very smart player as well as when they play. I mean, sometimes you'll find these, you know, mechanical freaks that are able to just like hit every single shot and never miss. But the positioning is awful, and they're just constantly feeding, and you don't really see that from NRG. They're taking those advantageous like off angles when they're available. They're not too deep in, allowing their tank to take that aggression. They realize like an engagement's coming in, and they back up so their support line can support them. And they're there. They're essentially just where they need to be every single time. And when you combine a smart player with someone who has the mechanics, that you just have an MVP right there.
Yeah, definitely. Now, let's take a look back at our schedule from today. It was a lot of 3 Overwatch, and well, the first one was a lot more 3 Overwatch, but this NA game, right, was a lot closer than the scoreline really says, right? So
Yeah, I mean, Mental Institution showed a lot of potential across a lot of these fights. We saw a lot of good moments, and like Spectron highlighted, there are moments where like they clearly have it all there. You just come up against Short Bus, who is just the Demon King in this league right now, and you just, if you aren't prepared and you aren't just ready, it's an off day, you're just gonna fold like a chair.
Yeah, definitely, and I think I'm definitely excited for next week's SNO as well, because we will have SNO next week. It'll be probably around the same times that we have had these ones, just give or take an hour or so on either end, depending on when broadcasts are scheduled for Saturday. And then as well, we have a broadcast tomorrow for EUNNA, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know who's doing that, but
I'm broadcasting both of them, I believe.
Yeah, he's broadcasting both of them. I'll see you on NA for tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, so sounds good. And then other than that, I mean, make sure to follow the channels, follow CGL1. We don't really do anything on CGL2 or CGL3, but make sure to follow them just in case. And make sure to follow the YouTube as well, because again, lowlights, all the VODs are on YouTube as well. And other than that, a huge shout out to the desk, Soav, Spectron, Headrammer, and then myself, Joker, and then the casters as well, Dexatron and Huntertane, for bringing you the action, even though they were wrong on their predictions. And then the observer team with Rhino filling in for Hippie on the production, on the technical director aspect of it. June replays, and then I believe Cry
and Little Joe.
Little Joe were the observers for this afternoon. So that's going to be it for us on SNO tonight. Thank you guys for watching wherever you are in the world. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.
Game straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.